Good morning, Carol. Welcome in. I do hope you're well. Make sure I got sound, even if it's echoing here for a second. Yes, I do. Hey, Tina. We got Tennessee, Michigan, and New York in here today. I don't know if I count, though. Haven't drank any coffee yet? Well, don't let me slow you down. I've got, I don't know how much I've got. Well, guess who just popped in? Morning.
Yeah, he is. Dropping stuff. Knocking rocks on the floor.
Well, don't do that.
Can you imagine? Don't do that.
Don't do
Look
that.
at that big old map of the United States of America behind you.
Look at that. What do you think?
I like it a lot.
I got to straighten it out. I got to work on the wrinkles. I got to figure out how to get the wrinkles out better.
It's looking classy, man. You can
Point
fun. You can do fun with flags with that.
Well, it's not a flag. Yeah, I could put the flags on it, little buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I can point to things and say, Mark Zorn.
We have the coolest flag of all of them.
Yep, that's new.
Yeah, you can point right to that green state and say that's the official middle of nowhere, but over on the other side, in the other corner.
And it's green like that because, yeah, you're down in this corner.
No,
That corner. I'm sorry.
in that corner.
I got to think backwards a little bit.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's green like that because it's so tropical and jungle like,
Exactly.
rainforest.
Especially this year.
Tina wants to know why you have rocks. You like my husband? He picks up random rocks and brings them into the house.
Rocks are cool.
Mark has
I make like arrowheads and things out of them.
yeah, he's got arrowhead making rocks and he's got flint and chert and chert is commonly known as flint, but
Yeah, and then I have rocks that are tools.
yeah, that
To
looks like a biscuit.
to work on these rocks that are not tools.
That one tool looked like a biscuit.
Plus, my buddy sent me this ivory from Africa. It's warthog ivory.
Look at that.
And he used that for an arrowhead making tool, and moose antlers. You just never know what you might need laying on your table where your wife tells you to pick up your stuff. We got people coming over. Could you pick up your stuff?
Of course, you're saying, well, why? I'm not ashamed of it.
Well, it's in the way.
Oh, I know why.
She got me this for Father's Day. Isn't that cool? Whoa.
What is that? I mean, it's a buffalo.
It's a bison skull candle.
Oh, it's a candle.
It's an apple candle.
Oh.
And the bison skull's made out of apple wood, and it's a bowl. And when you burned up all your apple candle, you got a big old wooden bowl.
That's cool.
I thought it was cool.
Flip it over. Let me see the other side.
Well, it's buggered up a little bit, but
I don't care. Was that purchased while you were in Ohio?
That was an Ohio. Southern Ohio.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
The unglaciated portion of Ohio.
Down where the glacier stopped.
Yeah, I mean the part where it's still hill people.
Yeah, the glaciers pushed most of the hill people right on across the river.
I challenge anybody to tell somebody from Jackson County, Ohio, from somebody from Lawrence County, Kentucky.
Now say that again.
So all those people that are from that part of the world were Kentuckians originally.
Oh, they came that way, yeah.
And I challenge anybody to tell me a person that's from Jackson County or Scioto County or some of those places
Yeah.
versus somebody from Lawrence County, Kentucky, or
Here's
Greenup County, Kentucky, or
whoops.
where'd you go?
Well, I'm here. I forgot to shut my door, and then when I shut my door, it sounded like I knocked the world over, so I'm not sure what I did. Did you put something in the door?
You didn't knock Teddy out of the way.
Oh no, he's right here. He'd have to get up and go across the room for me to do that. He'll probably be up in a little bit.
And good morning, everybody. Sorry I was absent.
Hey, Francisco. Hey, Don. Welcome in.
You got to play with Philip.
Yeah, we got to play. Philip did an excellent job last week.
Philip would do an excellent job at anything you wanted to do.
Well, that's true too.
I think.
And you are correct. Whoops, Tina, I hit something with the door, and I'm not sure what it was. It's probably going to be okay till I get up and check it.
Brain power wise, he's our Sheldon.
Oh yeah,
but not personality wise, but brain power wise.
Yeah, he's not Sheldon, but he can remember numbers and things like nobody's business, man. He could remember part numbers off stuff that was about as long as your femur.
Which is the unit of measurement where we come from.
That's right.
one metric femur versus an English femur. Oh my. It's going to be one of those days, guys. Sorry.
That's okay. It's that could be its own unit. That could be its own measurement system.
What's EWL bear?
Oh, I spelled it wrong. Wait a minute. I thought that got fixed.
I'm trying to figure. Is that owlbear or is that all bear?
Oh, it was supposed to be Yule bear, and I spelled it way wrong.
Oh, like Gibbons.
Yeah, I was just messing around, and I put that in there to see if it would come up.
Well, how did you spell his name? There it is.
It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
And I put that in there.
It probably auto-corrected you.
Well, it might have, but so I changed it. What did Carol say here? Personality would be Henry. Yeah, Henry Flans would be a little bit.
Me waving. I did, Carol. I saw you. I was the one in the holler, though, in the trees, so I was harder to see.
Hey, Diana. Good morning. Welcome.
Surrounded by wild raspberry bushes and seed ticks.
Oh, buddy. Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. They were in fine form.
I bet they were.
I still got them. I know there's still one on me, still moving about and biting me here and there, and I can't find the little son of a buck, but I brought him to Wyoming, unfortunately, but hopefully he freezes to death now.
Yeah, don't spread them out there. Good God.
I still think I did that to Ohio.
What, took up there?
when I was working at Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky. But they're way too widespread for me to have been the guy. But
raspberry sounded pretty good, Carol said. Seed ticks, not so much.
well,
Yeah, they started to kind of.
kept picking. I had grandnephew and grandniece that were like vermin, like hitting the raspberry bushes when you weren't looking, and they were eating the raspberries. And it's like, hey, while we're back here, we want to make a pie, and we never could catch up with them. We got almost enough berries to make a pie, and then we had to come back to Wyoming. So
I keep forgetting it's already nearly the end of June. I started to say, why are raspberries out so early? But never mind. That's a dumb question.
Oh, and they were just thick.
Were
And then ours, we won't have berries till later in the summer if we get any at all here. But
well, you just broke winter.
well, we're still like yesterday. It only got up in the mid-50s yesterday. So, but it's the best garden year I've ever had in Wyoming. We got plants going.
Oh, man.
I mean, going crazy. Tomatoes and potatoes and.
Well, you did get good moisture this winter.
We're still getting it. It rained all day yesterday, and it might rain this afternoon.
We're supposed to get scattered stuff today and tomorrow, but it's rained almost all week hard. We had water standing in the yard yesterday.
Yeah, we got yesterday. So Shauna mowed yesterday morning because she enjoys it. I think she's crazy. I have perfectly good horses that could mow for her.
Free of charge.
Yeah, but you don't have to start them up or nothing. But
get no gas in them.
No, but she went out and mowed and tried to beat the weather, and it was wet in the morning, dew and rain from the night before, I'm sure. And then she mowed till about 1:00, and here it come. And we had big hail and rain, and it was crazy for a little while there. Power went out.
It's one. Hi, Microball. I know I hadn't said hi to you yet. I was waiting for a breathing spot there on the guitar. Brenda says mowing is cathartic. Now, did I not tell you that the other day, or was that somebody else I was talking to?
Mowing.
It was somebody else. It was somebody else. I don't like to mow. I hated to mow, but I used to get some of my best thinking done while I was mowing. Maybe because there was nothing interfering with my mind other than the cone of noise created by that lawnmower.
The cone of misery.
Yeah.
You remember we had a ginormous yard, and as soon as I moved away from home, Dad went out and bought the biggest John Deere riding mower that they ever made.
Do what now? Wait a minute, I was reading this. What did you say?
Well, when I left home, Dad went and bought the biggest riding mower they made. I pushed a mower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, of course. He didn't want to mow it.
And then I had a couple of cool tools called a splitting maul and an axe, a double-bitted axe. And I split firewood for all those years.
And then he bought a splitter.
And he bought a hydraulic splitter as soon as I left.
Yeah,
which is kind of when, you kick a kid out of the house, you can afford to.
Yeah, that's part of it. That is part of it. And the other part is the truth about the whole thing. They tell you all your life that you're getting to mow and stuff to build character and learn how to,
run your shoulders.
Yeah, and then as soon as you leave, they go out and buy a riding lawnmower because they didn't want to mow to begin with. The truth was they were getting out of it by having you do it. Tina, I'm not even going to comment on that. You can ask our poor little cat what she's thought about. She's been hiding all week long.
It's the first rainy day all week.
Yeah, they.
Where are you guys at? Are you in Michigan
No,
right now?
no. Tina's
Oh,
in New
you're in New
York.
York, Tina.
Yeah, I don't know, Carol.
You
Are
know,
you?
it's okay. We don't get rainy years very often.
No, you don't.
And so I try to look at I mean, it's as green as I've ever seen it here. And the all the damage that the moose did to my currant bushes and things this winter, it's all gone. It's those plants have completely responded and they've got great big leaders on them. They're beautiful and gorgeous and filled out again. And I'm like, how did that even happen? Because they beat them up pretty bad.
Oh, maybe that was a little bit like shearing them back and trimming them, getting them ready for regrowth.
And I think, we've got leaders on the currant bush. I was looking yesterday, but we've got leaders that are 30 inches long.
Wow,
It's crazy. But good, a good crazy.
Tina,
I had
you're in say central New York. Are you anywhere near? I think it's Lake George, unless there's a Lake Charles. But I think it's like, hey, good morning, Rhonda. The caffeinated Mist has showed up, has made the room.
I bet
It's a whole lot better place
the
today.
east end of the Finger Lakes.
She said that.
No, that's what I'm betting.
Oh,
But the eastern side of the Finger Lakes, not the middle or west.
here it rains and the grass grows thick. I know, Rhonda. It's about the same here. Philip, he complains about that on a regular basis. He's got a fairly good sized yard. It's flat, but it's pretty good size. And he don't like to mow either, but he mows, and sometimes he has to mow what seems like 3 times in 2 weeks or something. It don't seem to fall. I mean, his grows like crazy. So this rain is just not doing him a bit of good.
And that's what we're dealing with this year. We normally, my wife mows um once every 7 to 10 days, maybe,
He said they're a little east of
even
the
or
Finger Lake.
even more.
Yeah,
And it this year, it's like if you give it 5 minutes, it's back up and you can cut hay. It's going crazy. Brenda asked about
she asked about the baby horse.
Miss Luna. I'm trying to see if I can find a picture.
Yeah, you said she was filling out, and
Oh, she's beautiful.
oh
Here's
my.
her. So yesterday was her first experience meeting Mr. Currycomb. And
And how did she get along with Mr.
she
Currycomb?
likes Mr. Currycomb, buddy.
Most of them do.
She thought that was okay right there. She was she was rubbing on me like a cat.
Cheer that Tater. Mike says he has to mow twice a week around here, but I haven't lately. It's been so hot I haven't touched it in a week. We don't have to. And Diana says we don't have to mow anymore. Mike killed the grass. Good for you, Mike. I hate to mow. Grass is the most bedeviling thing. I think it is. It's evil incarnate. It just I can't. I don't like to mow. I had to when I was a kid. Maybe that's why I don't do it now. The trees grow too fast because of the tropical aspect. They have the clay-based ground and they don't root properly. Yeah, there's a couple of things with that, uh, Rhonda. Rhonda, you're right about that. But the clay-based, they can't get through. I don't know how it is exactly where you're at, but there's usually like a fragipan, or ever how it's pronounced, beneath that layer, and a lot of times they can't get the roots through that. And it's a hard packed layer of clay, and sometimes it's a few feet down, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's closer to the top.
Caliche, like a caliche layer.
I guess.
That's what the desert people call it.
Is it okay?
I mean, in the Southwest, you get You get down about 6 inches and you hit clay that's so hard, like it's been baked for gazillions of years.
See, Brenda's making a point here. Always thought was kind of a smart idea. People mow their yard really, really low, so low that it could die. If it gets a little dry. And she's saying somebody do like her neighbor and scalp it. She's talking about oh shoot, James, Sarah's dad. Hey, John, welcome in, buddy. How's New Jersey today? And Francisco, if I didn't say good morning, I will now. Good morning. Tina says we're in the foothills of the Adirondacks.
And John, you're right.
Look up your fancy map. Yeah, we're a mile directly north of Utica.
That curry comb, if you could put a longer handle on it, it'd make a good back scratcher. And I got to talking about flipping seed ticks a minute ago, and I know I feel him in the middle of my back somewhere.
So are you like between Syracuse and Albany, Tina? Or am I too far north? Well, no, maybe too far south. Huh? Unfortunately, my beautiful map doesn't have the Finger Lake area on it. That would help me find my place.
She said exactly that, dude, in her comment.
That did she?
She lives between
Syracuse and Albany. Okay. I do need a point. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I could use this.
Yeah, that'll work.
See, Mark lives in this.
There's Opal, Wyoming.
Yeah, right there, Opal, Wyoming.
The greater Opal, Wyoming area.
And Tina is over here in this part of the country. And let's see here. Carol is right in right here in this area.
Well, that's where Shelley's from too, isn't it?
She's from further
north.
She's further north. And Tim is from right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah,
which you can't see because your big old head.
Let me move my big old head. That's right here. And Rhonda is somewhere down here in the middle of Georgia, north central Georgia. And Francisco is out here on the western coast. And our friends from Canada are somewhere, let's see, up in here somewhere.
Yonder way. John's over there on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, and John's over here in this state, the Garden State.
And Ian's outside of Denver. And isn't it odd that they painted the Wyoming green and Colorado purple because their greenies were not?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know. I think these states would have been brown. There's a guy online who does motorcycle reviews, and he and his wife travel on one of those 3-wheel spiders, and they've got a really fantastic map. And it's a flat map. It's a 2D map, but it's painted in such a way, and it's about the size of this, and it's painted and colored in such a way that you get the detail of the mountain ranges and stuff. It's shadowed in and stuff. It really it looks 3D almost.
Well, we just bought my daughter Caitlin a book of maps that's the whole United States, state by state, drawn like Lord of the Rings maps.
Oh man,
they're pretty cool.
That would be cool. I'd like to have that. That would have been a neat map to hang right here. What I'd really like to have is one of those old school paper maps like you pull down.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know everything wouldn't be correct, but the basic outlines and all that would be right. And I've looked for those.
They'd probably have politically incorrect things like Indians and things drawn on.
Probably, but I'd still
Buffalo
yeah. I'd still like to have one. I think we had maps, that still didn't have Hawaii and Alaska on them when I was in school.
And if you go
hadn't been updated.
North Pole, that's where me and Diane.
Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see here. Tim, you need a Canadian map too. I know, Tina. And I actually tried to find a map that would hang here correctly, dimensional, that had Canada and the United States on it. I did. I'm still working on that. This won't be the last map, I promise you. I'm kind of queer for maps, so.
That and the mouse.
That and the mouse. Harold wants Mike to say hi to Santa. I think this time of year Santa's got a mowing service up there. It's what he does with the reindeer.
Killing out noxious weeds.
Yeah.
Some people use goats and he uses the reindeer.
Okay, what'd somebody say about the cane? Because Brenda's made a comment here that I would know, or it would make sense to me.
Never know when it will strike or try to kill you.
Ellie's from the city I live in, but she lives way up north. Okay, does she live near Sheboygan? Because we've been to Mark and I know Sheboygan. Stupid cane. Oh, okay. I see what she's saying. Yes, and she's right. It is, in my hands, it can be a deadly weapon or a deadly trap. I'm getting Santa to do a transition from cookies to donuts. Well, that would be our doing, I'm thinking. Brenda says, what about the Chookie? What about the Chookie? Chookie? What's a Chookie?
What about the what?
Brenda wrote down, what about the Chookie? Chookie. That's all canes. That's all canes. My husband jumps in front of me at every opportunity.
Is that some kind of creature from Canada?
I don't know.
Like a Cherokee devil or something? Or a chupacabra?
Brenda, I'll bring him to your house. Well, now I'm missing out some part of this conversation.
Hold still, dog.
Carol said everyone is funny this morning. I have typed out LOL a lot. Well, that's good. That's a cheesecake cookie, Brenda says. Oh, my.
I bet that's good.
I bet it is too, but I bet that's illegal.
I bet one of them's good. Where'd you go?
It's at your favorite, Brenda.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite, Mike.
You're circling. Now you're frozen.
Am I?
Yeah, you were circling. Now you're circling again.
Must be on your end because I don't see it here. Did anybody else circle?
Huh?
The spiral. Am I
That's
still
usually
frozen?
my role. There you are, but you're still froze. Now you're not, maybe. Now you're moving.
I moved my fingers.
But you got no sound. Now you got no sound. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're just kidding?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I'm just giving you grief.
Oh. Well, thank you, John. I can trust
It's just
people.
one of those days.
Oh, okay.
I ate wild plants yesterday, and now I'm feeling goofy.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
I know that.
And I don't know if I've got that picture of your wild stir fry or not. I meant to put that on my.
I sent you photos specifically for your show.
Yeah, I got it on my phone. I'm not sure I ever put it on my computer.
I even got a good picture of a lamb's quarter.
Well, I got some pictures here too on that.
I'm growing right up out of the horse manure.
Well, fertilized then.
Now we got lots of lamb's quarter this year.
I sent Brenda pictures of your.
My chickens love it.
Do
we? And so do we.
Do they just eat it when it first pops out of the ground, or? Do they pick
No,
at
we can cut it even when it's like when it gets real tall and rank. We can.
Oh, wow.
They'll eat that too. They love it. We just pick it by the armload and just throw it in the chicken run, and they enjoy it. And they can eat it if they come out. I put the dogs up sometimes and let the chickens free range, but they're so tied to that chicken house, so they just barely will come outside, and then they dart back into the chicken run.
Could
So,
have something to do with all them chicken hawks you got out there.
well, yeah. I mean, I right on the north edge of the front yard.
Yeah, and those owls.
Well, yeah, owls, and then just before we left to go back to Appalachia, the I walked out to the north edge of the front yard, and we got an irrigation ditch out there, and there was a great big buck mink
Oh, really?
right there. And then we've seen river otters and coons and all kinds of and long-tailed weasels and skunks and
Well, you've named
lots
it.
of things with pointy teeth that eat chickens.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Coyotes and red foxes and
No wonder they dart back.
bobcats.
Well, they're
We
not
are
entirely
we
bad.
are a predator-rich environment here,
Yes,
so
you are.
which is cool. I like them.
Makes your chickens a predator-rich prey species or a
Yeah, yeah.
rich prey species.
They're glad they live behind wire. I'll guarantee you.
I feel much better, Carol. For a couple of days there, I felt like south end of a sick horse or something. I really didn't feel good, and it didn't have anything to do with hurting so much as it did just Brenda did too. She had a day where. What are you doing today, Microbrawl?
You guys had the epizootie?
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just something we ate or if it's medicine we changed or if it was something else, but
I am way behind on the old chat here. Holy crap.
I didn't, I just hadn't felt worth a damn for a couple of days. And I was going to be
Let's
on
wonder
Thursday night.
what he's doing. What he's doing.
I don't know.
You
I'm waiting for him.
you are going up to some cool lake and you're going to catch a bunch of northern pike. That's my guess.
Or maybe some lake trout or some.
No, they're shampooing carpets.
I know that's funny all day long, Mike.
The northern pike option is way
Way
better.
better.
Way better.
Let me tell you something about those. You can get you a little spinner bait and a grub and a
Make
steel
sure you got
leader.
a wire leader.
Yeah, you gotta have a good steel leader and an ultralight rod and reel. Man, there ain't much better living than that. Now that's some fun.
And they don't taste too bad either.
And they don't taste. They're kind of bony, but they don't taste so bad. That's right. It'd probably be even better if you were able to smoke them and that sort of thing. I bet they'd be plumb delightful.
Why are you guys? I am covered in. I feel like Ace Ventura guy today.
Wow.
I have dogs crawling all over.
Oh, well, I thought I had Teddy up to say hi, but he didn't. He laid back down.
I have 3 of 4 dogs here. Hey, where are you going? Go outside.
Brenda's trying to get Mike to come down and do our carpets.
I'm picturing the Bassett's taking a big run and doing slip and slide.
And their ears just flying. I think that would be hilarious.
And Mike, maybe you should go back outside and go back to cat trapping, because that's way better than carpet shampooing too.
Yeah, don't you need to help take care of that cat? Whatever happened to that cat?
They're looking for my chick.
That's why they keep sticking their head up his shirt. Slip and slide.
Oh my. It's going to be one of those days, I can tell.
That's an image I might not get out of my mind all day. I know there's something about basset hounds with their big long ears and sliding on and I just see their front feet on their ears somehow using them as directional paddles.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's funny all day long right there.
Sorry you can't
You
go
could
fishing.
make a Saturday morning cartoon out of that visual.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Good thing it is a fun image. Yeah, it's a fun image. An image is all that's fun about it, I'm sure. Oh, I probably told this story before too, but there was a cartoon on one time. Phil and I and our buddy Henry were going to a motorcycle race in Talladega, Alabama, and we got a hotel room somewhere, and we were getting ready to go out to the racetrack, and we turned the TV on, and cartoons come on. It was a Saturday morning, and we found this Droopy cartoon where he was chasing the wolf guy. And every time he'd do something to that wolf, his tongue would come out and it looked like a stair step, or his eyes would bug out of his head, or his ears would come off. And we laughed and laughed about it. It was funnier than heck. And it didn't have anything to do with intoxication or anything like that.
Did you say a Droopy?
Droopy cart. Not, was it Droopy? No, it wasn't.
The one that said,
Yeah,
I may not look like it, folks, but I'm laughing hysterically inside.
yeah. It was that guy.
That dog that never
That dog.
smiled. Yeah.
He never acted like he was doing anything, but he always seemed to beat the bad wolf or whatever
Yeah.
to the event. I have to update you all on the cat. He has been rehabilitated and has a home now too, and it's not my house. Well, that's good, Mike. We hadn't had a report on that since what, January? Seems like it's been a while.
Yeah, so he got captured and taken into custody,
And rehabilitated.
and he's living a good life now.
So when he goes, into the draft board, when they ask him that question on the back of the back of the page of the back of the other page, and it says, "Have you rehabilitated yourself?" He can say yes.
In the draft board.
For his physical. I don't know if you're a fan of Arlo Guthrie, but that's part of Alice's restaurant.
Yeah.
Was
that Woody's boy?
Yeah, it's Woody's boy, yeah. That's Woody's boy, and he's managed to outlive Woody. Woody had that, what's the disease? It's very hereditary. Not Hodgkin's. Parkinson's, I believe. It one of those kind of diseases that affects your nervous system and stuff.
Yeah.
And most people don't live past their 30s or 40s. And I think Arlo's still going, and he's been around since he's got to be close at my age at least, probably more.
He's got Parkinson's too, also.
No, I don't think he has. That's what I'm saying. He's managed to dodge that bullet somehow. He got lucky, I guess.
Well, Woody was in the depression.
Right. That's why I'm not sure how old Arlo is. I could look.
And then there was A.B. Guthrie, who
that's different.
I don't think is any relation, but he wrote Mountain Man books.
Arlo, let's see here.
Big Sky or something.
He's 75 years old, so he was born in the 40s.
Arlo
was, yeah. I'm thinking that probably makes him that made his
he would have been, that'd been about the time that Woody would have been producing children's. Arlo is 75, John just told us. Surf's up, John.
Oh, this is BS right here. No, it's not that. It's Huntington's disease.
Oh, Huntington's. Yet another lovely one. Mm-hmm.
Hang on, man. I'm trying. There's some confusing stuff in here because he's not dead. He was born. Yeah, he was born in '47. That's why I thought 10 years before me.
Is the Mickey Bunch on the beach today?
The Mickey Bunch.
Yeah, is Kelly on the beach or something?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I'm in a different world. Let me see here.
Well, you're
Oh, there she is.
she's your youngin, so I think you.
No, that's not. That's a different. That's not my
This,
Kelly.
this is a different Kelly,
It's the redhead Kelly.
but she's on the beach. She's talking about the surf. That's the reason I'm saying
Surf
that.
flip for John.
Hopefully John's going to be knee deep in some surf, catching some stripers or something
Yeah, I
too,
think so too. Happy Saturday,
or a
Kelly.
redfish or something.
Oh my God, she's just getting her first cup of coffee, and Rhonda says, "Sorry, I'm not awake yet." She got distracted.
Is Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yeah,
Brenda.
you ever watched that on?
Is that a BBC
Yeah,
show? It's got to be a BBC show with a
it is.
name like that.
You gotta watch it if you've never seen it because it is absolutely hilarious.
I think I have seen some episodes. Is it a sitcom kind of a deal?
Yeah, done before a live audience, and they every once in a while one of them will just walk off the set and look right into the camera or something. It's real loose in that regard, but it's a little bit rough. The main character's
Oh,
middle,
BBC Ireland.
huh? Yeah,
BBC Ireland.
and well, actually, I think it's BBC Scotland, but it's staged supposed to be in Ireland. What is Carol chasing, a cat? Or what?
That's exactly how they would say that too, Brenda.
Yes, got that. She says it a lot. The old lady in the show, and who is portrayed.
Yeah, I know I've seen an episode or two of that.
She's actually a man doing that show in drag. I guess he's been
Yeah,
there for
yeah.
years. But she's got 5 or 6 kids, maybe 7. She's got a son that's a priest, a son that's I don't know what he does, a son that wears costumes for an advertising agency, and she's got a son she's finally figured out is gay. He's been trying to tell her for 50 years, but she's finally figured it out. And she's got one daughter. Seems like there ought to be another son in there. Her husband's gone, dead, but his father still lives with him. They call him Grandpa. He's the brunt of quite a few jokes. It's hilarious. I think you would just guffaw over it if I can use that word.
That's the proper term for a grandfather. Grandpa.
Oh, John's already fished this morning. Nothing biting.
Really?
Yeah.
Nothing was nibbling. Darn it.
Okay, Kelly, let's hear you say, "Avast, ye mateys."
Oyster colors, howdy red.
Yeah. Carol must be chasing a cat or a dog that's running loose. Not her, somebody else's. Well, you need to check out that show if you got it on something, because I know that you would just
Me?
yeah, if you ain't watched it. All right, come right back, Mike. I got you on a timer. We'll see how long right back is to a Canadian.
I cannot see out of my glasses.
His wife works on the show. What are you talking about, Tina? Did you say something I missed? Oh yeah, Tina watches it. Oh goodness, he was out when Brenda said she was cleaning the carpet this morning. Apparently, she woke up about 4 or 4:30 and decided to clean up the kitchen and scrub the carpet. John was out fishing at that time, 4:45, and he fished till 7:30.
Who was up cleaning? Who was up already cleaning at 4 o'clock?
My wife. Probably
Well,
more like,
the captain, Robert Ruark's grandpa.
yeah.
He always said that women have a dynamo in them. And that's when you pack up the fishing gear and go live on the beach at Caswell Island for a week.
I got you.
When the dynamo takes them.
That was spring cleaning, wasn't it?
You need to get the heck out of the house and out, away.
Imagine this, you're wearing a costume of a horse.
That's why war was invented. War and horse stealing and stuff like that was invented specifically because of that.
Yeah. Brenda cannot. I swear you're embarrassing me.
You wake up one morning, you're a Blackfoot warrior that lives in southern Canada, and you're like, we need to take a walk down to that Comanche country in North Texas and steal us some horses. And that is a long walk.
It was a long walk, yeah.
And you get to get out from under the dynamo for a few days.
Did you see what Brenda put in here?
Don't know. Didn't see it.
You don't see what's up in the screen?
Imagine that.
Hey, look at your little. You gotta look. No, you're not on Facebook though, right? You're on what I sent you. And during the nativity scene, Brenda, you forgot to add that part. They were doing a nativity scene.
Was this on the Mrs. Brown's Boys?
Yeah, it was their Christmas special one year.
Oh, good. Good.
The local nativity.
Well, yeah, the horse does take two people.
Oh yeah, it didn't look quite right with just one, but the back one had to go. Grandpa was the front horse, and you know how grandpas are. Somebody probably pulled his finger. I don't know. I'm missing a whole conversation. I'd always find random cats curled up on it.
Do we have a subject today at all?
Yes, we do. I just hadn't got to it yet. We've been looking up.
We've been on here for an hour.
Okay, I better pull up a subject. We're going to Mark he threw something on me last night. And I do, Carol, I do have slides. So it's official. And I'm getting them ready right now. And I've got something on here from Mike.
Oh.
I heard that. What was that?
Yellow-headed blackbird.
Oh, man. Did it kill it?
No, it flew away.
Brenda's going to tell the whole story. Nobody will have to even watch it. She's probably up there giggling right now. Now, I sent this to Mike yesterday. Snoopy talking to Woodstock says, my version of a triathlon is a donut, a pizza, and a hot fudge sundae. So this is a public challenge, Mike. I'll take you on. We'll try that. See how it goes if you want to. I figured you and I could do that justice. All right. All the usual stuff, hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment. Thank you very much for being here. And we're going to talk about wild hickory nuts.
There's you.
We're going to talk a little bit about wild food. Mark was out collecting lamb's ear. What is it? Lamb's ear?
Lamb's quarter.
Quarter, not lamb's ear. That's something different. Lamb's quarter, and he was
Some
making.
people call it white goose foot, I think.
That's right. I've got that on here. And some people call it. Oh, it's got several names.
Wild spinach, I've heard several
Wild
things.
spinach and all kinds of stuff. And I put Yule in here because when I started thinking about it, he was an advocate of wild edibles. If edibles, and I don't mean marijuana edibles, I just mean food. And but I had to put him in here because he was part of my youth. I don't know what it was, but when he did these grape nut commercials and he made this, it's like eating wild hickory nuts. Well, that just I don't know if that made him a star or a laughing stock.
I loved him. I
I
thought he
thought,
was a great
well,
guy, but I
I,
had no idea that his middle name was Theophilus.
yeah, well, me neither till yesterday. But he was a health food advocate and he promoted eating wild foods during the 60s. So actually, by the time he got to the wild hickory nuts part, he was probably near the end. But most, I don't know about this picture with him in the rain slicker, but these other two were grape nuts commercials or ads. And I just wanted to throw him up there, him and this guy. And Brenner, he most didn't. I actually thought he did some wild hickory nut kind of commercials, but he did mostly Quaker Oats.
Wilford Bramley.
Well, what did I say?
You said Yul Brenner.
That's not Yul Brenner.
I've been accused of being this guy.
Oh, really?
I was at a check station working one day, and I wear a hat that looks somewhat like that. And the game warden checked this guy up on the mountain, and he's like, "Oh, I just went to the check station." He's like, "Well, who did you talk to?" He goes, "That guy looks like Wilford Brimley." And he goes, "Oh, I know who that is."
Move it right along. And Wilford died in 2020.
And he was a Wyoming boy. Well,
Yeah.
He wasn't a Wyoming boy originally. He was a Utah boy originally.
Right.
But
he's buried in Utah, I think.
He had a big ranch up by Shell or somewhere up there in the Bighorn Basin.
Hey, Dave, I think Diana and Mike might be having to leave us. Oh, okay, Diana. You guys don't work too hard. It's supposed to be your day off. Well, you can tell they're still young, can't you? Still busy, just little beavers. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist that.
What? Shampooing carpets on purpose.
Well, there you go. But he did a lot of health. He did more health food stuff and education. He did a lot of diabetes commercials, ads, and for Liberty Medical. And I wonder if that had anything to do with Liberty Mutual.
Quaker Oats, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. That's right. I thought I put that in there, but I don't see it. He was a Marine too.
He was.
And this lady I just picked up because she has a lot of information on the internet about eating wild plants and stuff that's out there and teaching people what to eat and what wild stuff's good for you and how to identify it and that sort of thing. So let's move right on into that lamb's quarter.
I see it right there.
And it's how do you say that, Mark?
It's a canopode.
Canopode, okay, canopodium. And I did not know this, but that's where there's a version of that, and that's where they get quinoa.
Quinoa is a southern cousin of this plant.
Yeah, it's
South America, I think.
It's Canopodium quinoa is actually what it's called. There's a scientific name, at least that's what I read. And but I did not know that until you threw this on me, and I learned something.
Well, that's the purpose. That's our purpose here.
That's true. That's true. And now I can go on and now
And this
somebody.
is it's a wonderful plant.
Yeah, and you said that I don't know. Is anybody else in here eating lamb's quarter? Because I bet my parents may have, but I didn't. I have a feeling they did because if it's everything I've read about it, then I don't know
Well,
why they wouldn't have
it
grown up.
grows everywhere. I mean, it's just real. It's super abundant in any kind of little wasteland, kind of like non-cultivated place in the world that's got enough moisture. The stuff grows everywhere, and
Yeah, it's
it's
worldwide pretty much. I think I don't.
yeah, it's everywhere except Antarctica.
Well, yeah,
It grows on every continent except Antarctica.
and they may have some of it stored down there in a vault somewhere for future purposes.
Probably.
But you also said when you get it with these seed pods on it like this, that you can cook it like broccoli.
Yeah, so
Or
the
eat it
like
like
that photo on the right side of the shows kind of those florets. Like you literally just cook that like it's broccoli, and then of course the leaves are make wonderful salad or whatever. But we ate a bunch of it yesterday.
the one on the left, the farthest, the green, it's got some florets on it, but and they may be different subspecies because there's so many of them. I had a lot of pictures to choose from, but I didn't get real detailed on the names. But would you just go along and pluck the leaves off that, or would you take the stem off at the stalk?
So I was cutting the plant. I was cutting about the top third. If the plant was more than 10 inches tall, I was just cutting maybe the top third out of it. We just took scissors and went out there and clipped them off, and if it was a small plant, I would take the whole plant. But then I harvested the leaves off the stem, and we didn't use the stems. We just used yesterday. We just used the leaves. I made a stir fry kind of a wilted lettuce, wilted spinach kind of a dish. And it was good. I put too much garlic in it, but it was good.
The
Dave's right. Eat everything kills you. Might as well enjoy yourself.
he's got a point. I don't know if he's no, but I didn't wasn't sure if something would open if I clicked that or not. Anyway, that's a pretty fascinating plant that I might have known was edible, but I didn't know anything about it.
And I'm sure if you walk outside, it's growing in your yard right
Yeah,
now.
well, I told you last night when I was a kid growing up, we call this pigweed, which is another name for it in some places or
Yeah.
some
But
variation.
there is a pigweed that's
Yeah,
not this plant.
but some people call this pigweed, and that's what I remember.
Well, this was the plant that if you were a rural country kid that folks had a big old garden, when you were weeding the garden, this was probably the most common weed in the garden.
Yeah, and if it got very big, if it managed to get over a couple of feet tall, it was hard to pull up or
It
cut.
was. And
They're tough.
it actually was probably better for you than almost everything you had planted in the garden.
Yeah, well, like I told you, if my mom ate it when she was a kid, and I'm not saying she did, but if she did and didn't like it, I never saw it because she was a firm believer in if mom don't like it, the kids don't need it either.
Well, I like spinach, but I prefer this over spinach.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try it.
It's good.
How long does it take to cook it?
Just a few minutes.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
you just put it. What I did with it last night was I just put it in some butter and sauteed it. Wilted it
yeah,
like you would spinach, or
yeah,
you can with spinach, and then I put some Parmesan cheese over it, at the very end and let it melt a little bit, and it was tasty.
You're making me hungry
I
already.
had I had a little well, I had too much garlic. I put a couple cloves of garlic. Um, I had kind of a medium saucepan full of leaves, and they cooked down to about the size of my fist total. So next time I'm gonna harvest a lot more of it. But
You just turned into Chef Boyarde's orange, I'm telling you.
that's what I'm doing.
And then we'll talk about what we call pokeberries, or not pokeberry, poke salad. And I was,
Yeah, and some people call this polk,
which
like
is
like President Polk,
yeah,
Polk,
or Polk
which is
County.
not correct at all. It's
No.
polk.
And I didn't think about that till you said it, but I do know people that call it polk too. Southerners have always been gifted at making the best out of anything, such as using leftover mashed potatoes to make old fashioned potato candy, which is one of my favorite things in the whole world. My mom used to make potato candy, and I loved it. It's a trait born out of a good attitude and stubborn resilience. We like to imagine that's throughout the South become a side dish. And while it might be forgotten amongst most people today, there was once upon an Appalachian delicacy known as poke salad. I worked with a friend that used to just, he loved it. He would always go out and pick poke salad. He just fixed it up for himself, I guess. But when he, lived at home and or when he would come to work, he would talk about it and he'd go out and collect, because you can find this stuff in practically every field in the United States, in this part of the country, if it's grown up at all.
Yeah, in the eastern United States, along every ditch
Yeah,
roadside, there's pokeweed growing.
and birds,
We ate it a lot, but if you don't prepare it right, you're not going to survive it.
yeah, it can hurt you bad, and you got to cook it twice. Basically, you got to boil it, and then pour off all that water, and then do it again at least twice. And but once that's done, but the berries, you do not eat the berries. However, birds absolutely love these berries, which is one of the reasons why it grows all over the place. Because birds spread the seeds around. I'll leave that up to your imaginations,
And
but let's just say it
it
goes from
makes
one
a
end and out
pretty
the
good
other.
ink.
Oh my God, does it make a good dye? I never thought about ink, but
Yeah,
I
they
wonder if
they
I could use
talk
it.
about some of the old people called it inkberry
Oh, really?
because you could make a really nice, like, pretty permanent kind of an ink out of it,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I've
it
got,
and it's perfect for like dyeing, Osnaburg and all them cool old cloths.
if you get it on your hands, it's not going to come off for a while.
Right.
I've gotten into this stuff, and my mom has just about beat me half to death because she couldn't get it out of my clothes, and it didn't come off my skin. And I mean, it stays on you for a while. You
And
got to
how
pull
we
it off.
didn't all eat that as a child, I can't. I mean, they must have just gone out like, see this plant?
Don't eat
Don't
it
touch it.
from the day we were born or something, because
They're like, this will kill you dead as a hammer. You leave it alone.
I knew this was not to be ate. I mean, as long as I can remember, I don't remember ever not knowing that pokeberries were bad or horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. And like, like that's poison ivy. Don't touch that stuff ever if you can help it.
Yeah.
And that plant right there, you're not, even though those berries look really tempting, don't be eating on them.
Well, they look a lot like little blueberries. I mean, or
Well, and it's a really abundant crop of
yeah,
fruit.
yeah, it is. Another pitfall of these things is when they're ripe and the blue jays and whatnot are just gobbling them down. Watch your car, because that purple
It's gonna be on there.
is going to be on your cars, and it'll be mixed with that white stuff. All of our bushes had berries, and I was taught early to never eat a wild berry. That's not a bad idea, Rhonda, if you don't know what they are. And in fact, I read that in reading about this. They were trying to warn people. You need to make sure you know what you're eating. And she used
So,
to get into poison ivy, and Mom would get it off my clothes when she washed them. And did it bother you, Rhonda? Because that
well, I was never bothered by it.
me either.
I might get a little tiny bit between my toes when I was a little boy. And I don't know how I would react to it now because I'm not exposed to it all the time. But
Yeah,
I could roll around in the stuff and it never
yeah, I
bothered me.
could too. My cousin,
But I knew guys that could
that.
just look at it crossways and they would swell up and have to go to the hospital over it.
Yeah, I've known several people as an adult that had to go get steroid shots
Anaphylactic
and stuff.
shock. And I remember a guy that was very well, Randy, not Pugh. Oh, the one I bought the old Little Red from. That was trying to eat his foot up with the flashlight in the teepee that night.
Wasn't that Randy?
That was Randy, but not Randy Pugh.
No, well, yeah, right, not Randy Pugh. I don't know if I can remember his last name either.
I'm thinking real hard about it. His brother's name was Scotty. Oh, anyway, doesn't matter. It's been a long time ago, but Randy got like they were burning brush piles on his dad's place,
yeah.
and he got it down in his lungs, and he was deathly allergic to it, and he was hospitalized over that one.
I can remember my cousin and I going out in the woods, and if his brother or sister ever went with us, like we were going fishing or swimming at the creek or something, we'd take them through this poison ivy, and they'd both get it, but we never got it. We wouldn't get it. We were kind of mean little Dickenses like that.
It's I had a very wealthy city cousin. I mean, he was a multi-millionaire when he was like 12.
Wow.
His dad passed away and left him all these millions and millions of dollars, and he's literally has never worked a single day in his life. But
That's just too bad.
they used to send him slumming down to the country kids, like, you go down there and spend the summer with Mark or whatever. And we would feed him green persimmons and whatever we could figure, because we didn't like him.
Green persimmons. I don't know if anybody in here's ever eat persimmons, or if you've ever tried a green persimmon, but you won't ever forget it if you did.
You might as well just take like a half a pound of alum and
pour it
into your mouth. It's the same effect.
And of course,
look at that wonderful plant.
There we got your basic dandelion, and dandelion is good for all kinds of things like wine and eating. You can eat the whole plant from the ground up pretty much on these things if you want to.
So they make the wine out of the bud, out of the flower bud.
Well, that's what I always assumed. I've never tried to make it.
And then this is a plant that you need to harvest it really early when it's first coming up.
Yeah.
Because if you let it get to where it's flowering, it's pretty bitter and kind of hard to eat. Maybe if you boiled it multiple times, you could get some of that bitterness out.
And that's probably why I'm not a huge fan. I've had it.
But it's a good plant. It's a strong flavored plant.
Yeah. Well, Rhonda, I'm sorry about that. I probably wouldn't have treated you bad. It'd be different. Not all my cousins got treated that way.
Yeah, we wouldn't have done that.
It was just no, I'm sure not. It was just the cousins that did bad things to us because they were older. Little kids have to get even somehow, because otherwise you're outnumbered and outgunned.
We had a dandelion knife in the house growing up. Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
That you go out and harvest your dandelions with.
Is that special or just designated that? Because it is.
I don't know. I didn't have one. I just used to whatever knife I have.
Yeah, Tina says that she's kind of saying the same thing. Mom loved it, but she said don't eat it once it flowers. Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt you, but I think it's just like Mark said.
Yeah, it's not poisonous. My daughter would go out in the yard when she was a little before she could walk. She'd be out crawling around in the yard grazing on dandelions. And she ate flowers and she ate all kind of things.
Well,
And a fun thing to do with dandelions, just if you got like people that you like to joke around with, you take when the seed pod comes on, that big fuzzy seed head on the top of a dandelion, when that comes on, you take a little bit of the stem of that and you tell somebody, hide this on your body somewhere and I can find it with this wand made out of the big fuzz head seed pod. And you run it up and down their body like you're looking for something with a wand, and then you say it's in your mouth. And they're like, nope, it's not in my mouth. And you say, well, let me see. And they open their mouth wide and you just shove that in there. And all those seeds come off in their mouth. And that's a fun country thing to do.
But you wouldn't have done that to you, Rhonda.
But not to Rhonda. But I did that to my sister more than once.
She fell for it more than once, I bet. There was something else you used to do.
And then one time I said, it's in your mouth, and she spit it out. It was in her mouth.
She was going to trick you.
Oh, my. But you know my sister, she's not right in the head.
I was trying to remember. Seems like there was something else we used to trick her with, even after I knew you guys. It was, but I can't remember what it was. But maybe it was that. I don't know.
That's not mean. It's funny. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't poison you. It's just funny.
Dandelion knife she thinks belonged to a previous relative. We never used it for such. It was a designation like having sewing scissors versus paper scissors. I got you. Okay. And Brenda says,
I get that. Like my grandkids all know that my scissors that I use in my saddle shop are never to be used on paper.
And Brenda would tell you that, or I must tell you that Brenda's, taught me that too over the years. I don't cut anything with her scissors unless I get it from her first. Because she don't want me using her scissors for really not much of anything. So I have my own now. I just have to keep my own scissors down here. And, she doesn't even, I got these a long time. Shoot, I need them.
You don't even know where they are.
Well, I thought they were right here in my drawer. Oh, I know where they're at. They're in that box right there. I ain't gonna reach them. I've had those for a while though, since I met you or so. I think I might have got them at the flea market in Jonesboro.
No.
Rhonda said they also had a grocery pen too for writing things on a grocery list. Mom would misplace it, and I always got yelled at. Funny how that happens, isn't it, Rhonda?
I think it's funny how humans in general treat tools. And, some people really take really, really extra special good care of tools, and some people don't because they're wrong in the head. But my grandfather he always told my grandma when he was getting ready to eat, where's my tools? Because he had a special fork, spoon, and knife that was bone handled that he ate with. And that was it. And
kind of like his sacred chair.
If they weren't like the sacred chair I'm sitting in right now, if he wasn't eating with his tools, he wasn't happy. Because they fit his hand just right. The tines were the right length, that, whatever.
Spoon.
And I get that. My wife drives my wife crazy. I'm like, I'm not eating with that fork.
I'm not real picky about forks. Some spoons I like.
That's my most picky utensil is a fork. I like it's got to have good long tines, and it can't be too wide. But the handle needs to be beefy.
I used to get looked at a lot for pulling my pocket knife out and using it to cut things at the dinner table. And for some reason,
that's totally acceptable right there.
Some people thought that was just plumb nasty, which I didn't understand at all, because I always cleaned my pocket knife. If nothing else, I wiped it on the leg of my breeches. And everybody knows.
I just think it's fascinating how some people look at the world in that way. Like Brenda's just saying, her tools in the kitchen and sewing are important,
and all pretty much off limits.
and I've got knives and things that I use for saddlery that I spend a lot of time sharpening them to where they're razor sharp. And the kids better not pick one of them up and mess with it. Number one, they'll probably cut themselves, but they're going to bend an edge or something, and Grandpa ain't going to be happy.
I can just see that. You get one of your head knives laying there.
Just like a rolled edge on it, I'd kill them. So, okay, it's time to make brand new grandchildren's.
Something happened to the other ones.
And Brenda's asking me if I'm a 3 or a 4 tine guy. I like 4.
Some people, wasn't it 3 times that some people wouldn't use because they were like the devil's pitchfork or something?
So if you're a fan of Big Bang Theory, which I am, and Sheldon, he's like, a fork has got 4 tines. If it's got 3 tines, it's a trident, and it is only used to rule the 7 seas.
Well, that's true.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a trident.
Oh, I forget these things sometimes.
The weird things. 3 is for appetizers. See, I don't know those rules.
Oh, well, I didn't either.
When I was a boy, you sat down to the dinner table. You had one fork. I
didn't know there was.
You didn't have 2 or 3 forks. You had one. Who wanted to wash that many dishes?
You had one butter knife at the table usually, and everybody shared it.
Exactly, it was sticking in the butter.
Yeah. And I just, whatever fork you got was designated as a salad fork, a meat fork, a tater fork,
and
dessert.
Sometimes you cut your meat with it.
Sometimes you did.
Sometimes you didn't have a knife.
No.
Which led to the deployment of a pocket knife out of your pocket to cut a piece of steak.
Well, you go. I'm going to digress a little bit more here. Squirrel. It's like I can't stand to go into like a steakhouse or something, and you go in there and you sit down and you eat a steak. Now, I've never been to some of the really nice steakhouses. You probably don't have this problem there, but you go into a steakhouse and it's got a decent steak in front of you, and you go to eat it, and it don't just fall apart. You just have to cut it, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the damn fork knife they give you won't cut it. So I reach in my pocket because the one I got cut it.
We've got a whole set of kitchen knives that the kids bought us, and they're okay knives, and I can resharpen most of them. And I keep one of them really sharp, and it's just like a little paring knife, but that's what I use to cut my steak up with because it's razor sharp. And those serrated deals they give you, that they're no good for cutting meat, in my opinion.
An olive fork has two. Wait a minute here. You're going to get me all confused. Rhonda says an olive fork has two tines.
Well,
Well,
I never. That's a hay fork.
wait a minute, Rhonda. What do you eat escargot with? Because I thought that was a little two-tine fork. And you dig those little rascals out of the shell. What, Tim? Don't worry, Tim. I've totally lost count of squirrels. Oh, somebody,
Counting squirrels is its own squirrel.
Ron says I cut everything with a fillet knife. That's a good idea, John, because they're not hard to sharpen, and they when you get one right, it'll cut through anything. Google Google olive fork and click in. Okay, well I'll do that after a while. Car Key says she has a pickle fork, and it does have three tines.
Who was using the fillet knife?
John.
Yeah, so you remember those little like 4-inch long
I know
were they Rapalas?
Rapala.
The little I've got some that are 6 and 8 inches long and some that are 4 inches long, little fillet knives. I think they're Rapala. And
Yeah.
I use them for all kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got one right now that's absolutely.
There's several of them in my like skin and stuff. So when I like kill an elk or something, I use those on that too. They're pretty handy.
Well, they're thin and they can reach into places. I guess that would make sense.
And you can sharpen one on a steel and keep it razor sharp. And
good point. Well, back to the subject at hand.
Who's not eating bugs, and why are we talking about bug eating?
I don't know. As Veronda says, I don't eat bugs, so I don't. Maybe she don't eat escargot.
Maybe that's escargot.
She misses having dinner parties. John says mine are 8-inch Dexters. I have a 10 or 11.
I have a 10 or 11.
I don't know Dexters. I'd have to look that up, John, but I will. Because I got a thing about knives. Brenda can tell you that.
She don't eat snails.
Oh, okay. So she don't know about the forks then. Watercress is found in cold alkaline waters of springs, spring runs, and similar streams throughout the state of Missouri and most of the continent. Well, at least in the east. You guys have watercress out there too? You do, don't you?
But in places, if you get the right spring or something in the mountain, you'll find a little bit. And
well, it's in the
this was the plant was my great grandmother's favorite green.
And she called them creasy greens, didn't she?
Yeah, she would tell me to go. You go to the creek, as she called it, and you go get me a mess of creasy greens. And while you're down there, you can catch a bunch of crawfish, and we'll boil those up too. And so we would eat creasy greens, and she'd made other stuff, taters and things with it. But then we'd boil crayfish and have those, and it was like living in heaven.
Rhonda says watercress is found at the farmer's market. It is now, yeah. It is today. You can find a lot of this kind of stuff in farmers markets. But when we were growing up, or at least when I was growing up, I don't remember ever seeing it for sale.
No, if you ate this kind of stuff, you were like the poor country people.
Yeah, it's usually the people that ate it because they didn't have money for other things. But not that there was anything wrong with it, or they didn't want to spend money on something they could just get out the creek.
But it's the bounty. It was nature's bounty. And I can remember going and pulling great big handfuls of this stuff. It would cover the whole surface of the creek. And you could wade around in there and pull all that watercress out and throw it up on the bank. And you could catch snapping turtles too when you were doing that. And that was a real bounty, because then you could take that turtle home and eat him too.
Did you guys ever, just doing that, did they have soft shells up there?
We had soft shells. I didn't see them near as commonly as snapping turtles.
Snappers, yeah. Well, growing up, I don't
Yeah,
remember never.
we had spinies and smooths,
Uh,
soft shell turtles.
I don't remember ever seeing a soft shell turtle growing up anywhere.
So when I was a little boy, like 3, um, we were down in Bucklet Creek. I think you were there at once upon a time.
I've been there, yeah, not when you were
We were
3.
home on leave. Dad was in between tours, and we were home on leave. And Dad always had a motorcycle, dirt bikes, and he and the boys went riding down to Bucklet Creek, down in that kind of canyon country, and I was with them, and I burned my leg on the muffler.
Oh yeah.
And they took me down to the creek and were washing my leg off in that creek, and there was a giant soft-shelled turtle in that, and I thought they were trying to feed me to that soft-shelled turtle. And I kept crawling up Dad's neck, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just putting you in the cool water to cool your leg off."
Did you explain why you were climbing out?
Yeah, but I was just 3 or 4 years old. I don't remember. I remember the incident vaguely. But
They're bodies. If you got a hold their
we've
tail,
got some giants out here in Wyoming. Giants, biggest soft-shelled turtles I've ever seen in my life. And I've been bitten by a few of them. They get a hold of you, but not near as bad as the snapping turtle.
No, that snapping turtle's king of that kind of thing. So there you go. And then we got wood sorrel, and I got 2 or 3 different pictures here of wood sorrel, but you can eat this. I mean, to me, this almost looks like what some people call a shamrock plant in their house. But
So that yellow green looking version over there, that one you're floating over.
This one,
The dark green one there it's older. The plant
okay.
is older, and the yellow green is really tasty.
This one,
And it kind of tastes like sour apples.
yeah.
And we called it my sister and I called it sourweed. We ate this stuff by the bag. You just go to the woods and I'm hungry, and you pick something and ate it, and we were taught what you could and couldn't do that with. But
wind your mouth back just a little bit and tell them what you said about a creek name again.
About what?
I think you were talking about the motorcycle burn and you went down to
Bucklick
Creek, I think is what you said real fast.
Bucklick Creek.
and Ron said when I was half listening, that creek name sounds bad. And then Carol said something about it too.
Well, where we come from, the part of the world we come from, a lick is a salt lick.
Yeah.
It's a place where wild ungulates would gather to get salt. And so it was a buck. It was a deer salt lick, basically, on that creek. That was natural. It just was native and natural.
Right.
That's the whole reason that part of the world was even settled, was because of salt.
Yeah, there were a lot of salt licks on that side of Kentucky and that lower part of Ohio.
Yep. So there were giant beaver dam complexes, and people would go there to trap fur. Plus, there was huge salt deposits, and that's what started settlement in that part. Like I said, northeast and north central Kentucky and southern Ohio.
That's what Rhonda thought you said.
Oh, Buttlick. Sorry.
We're all good though. Everybody's got paper signed now. But yeah, I remember eating this, and I'll show you another picture. I think this one. I can remember eating these little pods.
So what is that?
Which one?
This one.
Well, this is pods off some sorrel. This is the seed pod.
but
And I can remember
a
eating
different
these.
species of sorrel.
Yeah, these are well, yeah, probably because that's what I
I
said.
mean, look at the flower; it's totally different.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure this came off that flower, but I put this in here because they have different flowers, and these are different subspecies or whatever
Yeah,
of sorrel, but they're all still edible.
and that
But
and you're right, Rhonda. It looks like okra,
yeah, in fact, that's
like
how it's
little okra.
described in books a lot of times. We called it wild pickles or something like that when I was a kid because we would eat it, and it had, like Mark says, it has kind of a well, you said something different, but
Kind
it's
of green. It's kind of a sour apple
yeah,
taste.
kind of like that. And we used to call those pickles, and yeah, Brenda, that's what I was saying. That we did too. We called them pickles and ate them, and you can eat them. They're just about this big. I mean, they're not very long. That looks big on that picture, but that's blown up. And like I said, there's several versions around the United States alone, and this is another one of those plants that you can find a lot about around the world, I think. And there's white flowering ones, and these and these ones down here, and this one's up here. but
Well, and the cool thing about these plants, except for maybe poke, and I don't know what the benefits are from that plant, if there is any, because you got to double boil it just to be able to eat it at all. But these are really high in vitamins and antioxidants.
yeah,
And, I mean, they're really good plants. Lamb's quarter and wood sorrel and
see, this says alone that within the
I agree,
genus.
Brenda. If you fry it right and it's breaded right, it's wonderful to eat. But otherwise, it's not fit for human consumption, especially slick, slimy, boiled version.
That's right, Tina. They would. Oh, we ate them. So, like Brenda said, they were we for whatever reason we called them pickles. I don't know where that came from.
Well,
I mean,
that's what you'd call that if you was a kid.
yeah, well, yeah, I guess so. We didn't call it okra, but it does look more like an okra plant or a okra pod.
But I
So
don't
anyway,
remember.
that's
I don't remember us growing a lot of okra where we grew up.
oh I always mom and dad always had some okra in the garden, and Brenda and I used to grow it. One year we had my God, we had a bumper crop of okra. We couldn't get it all harvested. We had so
You
much, and
couldn't
then
give it away.
no, then it got so big. Once it gets big, it's just tough and not much fit for at least not
Yeah.
for eating for like we liked it. And hell does
Oh my gosh.
what?
Rhonda's dissing on mushrooms.
Oh,
Can't be doing that.
what is she saying that they taste like bleach?
No, that they're black.
Oh, black. Oh, okay.
Black.
Oh,
That's
Ron,
how I'm interpreting it.
you're probably right. Carol says breaded anything is good. Properly fried and breaded, yes, which is a real southern thing and a mountain thing. Hell, I think everything I ate growing up was some kind of fried.
Oh, look at those
And
beauties.
then we got shrooms. And I
Oh,
have to admit, I've never gone out and collected these mushrooms. But now that I
those
know
are
what they look
chanterelles, aren't they?
huh?
Those ones on the orange ones are chanterelles, I think.
Yeah, these are chanterelles on the left here.
Yep.
And these I don't remember the actual name, but everybody calls them tree chickens or wood chickens or something like that because they claim that these you can cook these up and they taste a lot like chicken meat. Probably not exactly, but most mushrooms will take whatever flavor you cook them with. So that's probably have you ever eaten these, Mark? And there's
The
different.
chanterelles I have, but not. I've never found those chicken of the woods. I
Yeah,
think they
chicken
call.
of the woods. Yeah,
I've never found one of those. But I don't live in the right part of the country either.
yeah, I've seen these. Didn't know you can eat them.
They're
And these
real.
in the
They're
are
pretty
oyster.
common in the Carolinas and in Tennessee.
Yeah, I've seen them in the Smokies a lot of places. This one in the middle is an oyster mushroom.
Yeah, and I don't recognize that one.
Yeah, there's more. Again, there's more kinds than just
That
one.
one's kind of, it's got that pale luminescent look that I would avoid. Just, and they're probably wonderful, but they just look semi deadly.
Rhonda says, "I don't like bananas that are mushy either." Well, I don't either, but unless it's in banana bread. And Tina don't like mushrooms either.
Oh my gosh. How about like morels?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to get to those. If you might as well just be quiet about it if you don't like morels.
Yeah, I don't even want to hear about it if you say you don't like a morel mushroom. Something wrong with you.
Carol says she don't like mushy bananas. I don't really know anybody that does, but there's probably some people out there that do.
I
And
got
these are the and this,
that's God's mushroom right there.
that's right. And these are actually the same and not the same. They're different ones, but I don't remember what each. I don't
Well, they're
remember.
just blacks or yellows.
Yeah, that's what we call them, blacks or
They're the same genus, different
right.
species.
And man, oh man, are these things tasty!
And you don't have the DPs there. You don't have any of those. There's that.
No, I did because
That's
I didn't want us to have to explain what that
talk
was.
about it. What a DP was.
Yeah,
So,
I decided that'd be a bad idea. But my
so
dad.
we have a mushroom out here that's called a bolete.
Yeah, you've
That
told me about
and
those.
they're when you look at a normal kind of toadstool looking mushroom, you look underneath the cap, it's got gills, big old great big gills. And on a bolete, when you look underneath the cap, it's solid with pores. And those are fine eating. They grow, heck, they grow big as a basketball.
Oh wow. Tina says she don't want to eat anything that tastes like dirt. Not on purpose.
Well, morels don't taste like dirt. Morels taste just like what heaven has to taste like.
That's right. You can just wash these out, and I will warn you, sometimes there's all kinds of bugs in here.
Yeah, but you split them down the middle, and then there's no, like
Yeah,
that one over in that other picture.
that's why I posted this one so you could see them this way. I don't remember ever eating a mushroom growing up, unless maybe it was on a pizza and I might have eaten. But I did get them when I went out. Once I started growing up and getting out on my own at 16 or 14 and going to places, meeting guys at the Pizza Hut or something. I learned about a lot of foods. Mushrooms were one of them, but I didn't know about morels until years later. But I turned my dad. My dad had never eaten mushrooms. He didn't think he liked mushrooms, and I turned him on to these things. And after that, for years, he would go hunt for them in the woods every year when it was time for
Yeah.
morels. I'd found a couple of little patches that were pretty good near his house, and he would always go
I
down there
need
and
to
hunt
get
for
up to the mountain here pretty soon myself.
them. Yeah.
It's mushroom time in Wyoming, so
Well, I'd say these are all long gone down here. That they would have been picked and gone.
we're
May or even
we're
April.
later.
Huh?
We're later. But
Yeah.
these things, if you want to see something that's spendy, food wise,
Order something.
go try to buy a pound of these of morel mushrooms,
Let
and
me
they're
just
not
look
going to be
at it.
cheap. Be like eating caviar.
Here's some dried morels for $27.99.
For how many ounces? Two?
Well, I don't. Oh Jesus, you're right. That's 2 ounces. Holy
Yeah,
mackerel!
it's nothing.
And those kind of look like DP
Well,
morels.
they freeze dry them and seal them in a bag. My wife's bought me a couple of bags of them, and they're um,
Well, there looks like there's a lot of these in a 2-ounce bag.
They don't split them. They just put them in their hole and freeze dry them.
Yeah.
And boy, but you soak them in water for like a half an hour, and then pat them dry and fry them, and they taste just like they just come out of the woods.
Jesus, half a pound of them's $100.
$100. Yep.
I knew they were expensive. I didn't know how much. And that's just one place. Here's another place where they're even more. Well, no, this is 38. Oh, these are fresh for $38.52, a 1 pound bag. I wonder how they get those shipped to you. If
I don't
fresh.
even see how that would even be possible.
Let's see what it says. Our morel mushrooms are sustainable resource. Yeah. Well, you don't really say, but that's a good price for a pound of morels if they could get to you and not be, bad.
They'd be mush by the time they get.
Yeah, they've got to be doing something to keep them that way. I don't know what.
I never met two more. What's the word I'm looking for? Vociferous anti-mushroom people, especially morels.
That's too bad.
Tina lives in morel country. Well, Rhonda does too, probably.
Well,
I don't know if they grow them in Georgia. They would in the mountains there in the northwest.
Yeah, I guarantee you they got them up north. That country in the north part of Georgia is a lot like this country. Tina says she might look at the price out of curiosity, but she ain't even buying any.
So when I still would hold this belief that if you have fried morel mushrooms and bluegill fillets,
you're in heaven.
That's all you need. You could live on that the rest of your life. Be happy.
Rhonda, I put the bug thing in there because I have tapped them out and seen little bitty spiders come out of them or, hanging around them. And I threw that in there for Tina because I know Tina doesn't like spiders. But that's not, I'm over exaggerating that part. That's not a big deal. They're not.
No, there's occasional.
Yeah, that's just an occasional thing.
And it's not, you split them open and run them under the sink and they're gone.
No
bug talk.
No bug talk. Okay. No more bug talk. And here we got berries.
So we got to do one bug talk.
Okay, well,
briefly, because it just happened. So my buddy, David Stanley.
She said she's never going to eat again. Rhonda, come on.
So David Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
He's sitting beside me at Mom and Dad's house. And I look over on his shoulder, and there's one of them great big black carpenter ants.
Yeah.
With the big head, the great big heads.
Yeah.
And I just picked it off his shoulder and ate it like a chimpanzee.
Oh, jeez.
And they've got that formic acid. People all over the world eat them for a staple. But I just popped him in my mouth and ate him, and because David's wife was looking at us, and I knew it would, and my sister was sitting there, and I knew it would freak both of them out. And that goddamn ant, I popped that ant in my mouth, and he bit me on my tongue. and I had to literally chew his head off. It was stuck on my tongue. So there we go. Gross Mark story for the day.
Did you look and the head still stuck in your tongue?
Yeah, it was. His jaws were still on my tongue.
Well, did it have the desired effect?
I was like, ow, ow. And now Poor Rhonda's gonna have nightmares.
No, I hope not. Tina says that's karma. Because you were trying to make your sister sick.
But they're like lemony.
Yeah, they have a.
They've got formic acid and they taste kind of lemony.
What did Lisa and what's her
Well,
name do?
every time I go back there, my sister's like, "Now what are you gonna do?" I, I was sitting out in the yard on the edge of the edge of the woods one day with a straw like a grass stem, and I was dipping it down into an ant mound
Oh, geez.
and pulling them out and eating them off. And my sister's like, "You were always kind of retarded."
That's how the chimpanzees get them.
That's what I was mimicking them.
Oh goodness! Yes,
If
Rhonda,
I
we're gonna
want
talk
lemon,
berries
if
for
I
tea.
want lemony, I will eat a lemon.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm sorry, folks.
Oh, over here we got some wild blackberries and
Oh,
some
look at
wild
those beauties.
raspberries. We got two colors of raspberries there, blacks and reds. And around here, there's a couple of places where we've got like a Japanese raspberry. I can't remember what they're called. But there was just some of them planted on TVA property years ago when they were doing things like that to see if they could be a viable food crop or, crop for local farmers. And they're still there, but just a few of them in the wild. And people come up and climb the fence. Former TVA employees that know they're back in there go back in there every year
And go to picking.
and pick them, yeah, which is fine. I mean, and they
Yeah,
probably
why
don't know.
not?
And but they look like a raspberry, but they're a little bit bigger. God, what do they call those things?
Thimbleberries, maybe, or something. No, thimbleberries are native.
Yeah, they're native. This thing wasn't native. I think it was Japanese.
So I remember
And maybe that's what they called them. But
we picked blackberry when I was a boy. We picked blackberries by the gallon and sold them on the side of the road.
we made jelly. My mom and them would go pick them.
Well, I had to bring lots home for jelly, but extra we got to sell. And then we didn't have as many raspberries, but mom's got a whole yard full of them now, and we were picking them while I was back there. And the place that I've seen the biggest, most abundant berries is like up in Washington State and Oregon on the coast.
Mm.
It's no wonder they've got so many black bears. I've just never seen berries like that. Blackberries, oh my God, they're everywhere. And they're, every place that isn't cultivated has got berries growing on it. And just wild.
Well,
and they're big. And my gosh,
when they get those big long ones that grow out and droop down, those are the best ones.
And they're good. Golly. We're okay talking about berries.
I think we're good on berries for now.
We're not grossing anybody out.
Not yet, anyway. Oh, shoot, that reminded me of something.
So my mother came running in the house one day hollering, "Oh, there's a snake, there's a snake." She was picking blackberries right behind the house. And it was one of those green snakes. So it was wrapped up in the vine and looked like the vine.
Yeah.
And she, and I'm like 10 years old and I'd just go out there and catch it.
Were you at my house that day we walked out of the garage and there was a green snake sitting there on the driveway?
Yeah.
Reaching up like it was trying to crawl in the truck or something.
Yeah.
Strange thing. Hey, Michelle, welcome in. How's California today? I was trying to think of something I could say about berries that wouldn't be, it wouldn't be so safe, but I think I'll probably pass on that. But you got to watch for bees and things, and the briars. I mean, back here, if you've got a disturbed soil in the fence line or along a road or just about any field, you're gonna have
All those the right of ways for
yes,
electric lines and things are
they're
full of
full of
these
these
things.
things. I mean, they're so thick you can't get through them most of the time. But and bears and stuff get in there and they just gobble these things down. They love berries as much as people do or more. Which bring me to another thing here in just a second. But you'll just see them in fields. And I used to drive in my truck when I was at work, and there was this one road I'd go down once in a while that went down to some of our property, and it was narrow, and right along the road, hanging over the road, would be these big blackberry vines, briars, and I'd just stop in there and just pick them out of the window and get
Right.
ready as I went. Man, they were good.
Well, the first time I got to see a grizzly bear was in a berry patch in Montana. He was on one side and Dad and I were on the other, and it's like, okay, we'll give you this patch. But huckleberries, it wasn't blackberries.
He says her brother had about 16 garter snakes caught up at one time. Her mother never forgave him. And Rhonda said her neighbor had bees and they would hit the clover in our yard and I would find them walking. Oh, yeah, my mom, that was another thing my mom always tried to do. She tried to make us keep the yard mowed so there was never any clover in it or flower tops because she didn't want kids getting stung by bees. I got stung a lot, and she used to babysit for local neighbor kids and stuff, and they'd get stung. They'd be out there barefoot, and they'd get stung. So anytime the clover flowers started popping up, she wanted that yard mowed. She hated clover. My mom had issues about things like that. Butter, clover.
Butter? Oh, yeah, she was an oleo woman.
She was an oleo. She thought oleo. She told me one time that she thought oleo was the greatest invention of mankind up to date at that date. And she didn't mind mixing the yellow in it whatsoever because when they got it, I guess it was nearly clear.
Yeah.
Or a different color. And they had to mix the color in it, and she'd do that. But she'd rather do that any day as go out and churn butter. She just did not like to churn butter. She was one of the smaller, younger kids in the family, and I guess that was her chore most of the time. So we never had butter in my house growing up. And here's, speaking of blueberries.
Oh, look at them.
Yeah, look at them. I'd like to have that big bowl full right there.
Look at them all.
Those are pretty thick. Now
that's the way the huckleberries grew in Montana. And the bears would just be in there and they'd just grab one of those big droops of berries and put on 5 pounds.
Well, I was reading up on that. That's always been kind of a confusing thing, blueberries and huckleberries. But from what I was reading, huckleberries generally were in low bush, more of a low bush, and they usually had smaller berries than blueberries. And blueberries can get taller, and they tend to be like this. So I don't know, but that's something I read yesterday because that's something
the ones in Montana are a kind of high bush huckleberry.
Are they?
And they're big as your thumb. I mean, they're huge.
Maybe they're just a different blueberry.
It may be, but everybody calls them huckleberries.
Yeah, well, that's
homing.
People call them huckleberries here too, but I think they're mostly blueberries.
Well, we used to go to Unaka and pick huckleberries or blueberries or whatever they were.
Tina's mother was also an oleo woman. She liked butter, but she never bought it. Mom didn't. She didn't even like it. She didn't want to talk about it. The only time she might have bought butter, and this was after I left home, was if a recipe specifically said that she needed butter.
You needed unsalted butter for this or whatever.
She might do it, but she didn't. Yeah, and my mom, we got a recipe book upstairs, and Brenda still uses it. It was written by my
And
mom, and it's got.
Michelle says she hadn't heard of oleo in years.
Well, mom called. She wrote in recipes. She wrote down oleo. She used the name oleo instead of margarine, which I thought was kind of interesting. But then I've learned that a lot of people her age did that, I guess.
Well, Michelle, they make a Crisco now that is a butter flavored kind of Crisco, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it called for in certain recipes. Pie crust, real common in pie crust.
Well, Brenda, I don't know why I don't eat them. I guess because I forget they're in the refrigerator. Or you're not putting them in pancakes for me. Because everybody know blueberries are good for you. I don't know why you wouldn't get a big old stack of pancakes and syrup. Because it wouldn't that be good for me if I was eating blueberries?
So my dad is on an elderberry kick right now. Well, he's been for a few years now.
Yeah, I
Um,
had a picture of elderberries. I don't know if it got in here or not.
and they're man, are they're really they're actually cultivating elderberries up there in southern Ohio now.
Yeah,
They grow wild everywhere, but
elderberries.
Bill's eating blueberries right now. By golly,
Who is?
Michelle is.
Oh, well, good for her for breakfast. I don't really remember elderberries as a kid, although they did grow around home. But now I got learned about elderberries more once I met Kevin and his dad, because his dad used to go out and sort of scour the roadsides and find elderberry bushes and make wine.
Yeah,
He made
yeah.
elderberry wine, so he would.
Dad makes. He doesn't make it. Some other people do, but he uses it for. They make syrup out of it for pancakes and whatnot.
Oh wow, that'd be good.
We had every place that we had kind of poke weed.
Yeah.
You'd find elderberries growing in those same kind of habitats, kind of spoil pile, and blackberry bushes, and all the old coal strip mine country that they'd reclaimed. It'd be
Yeah.
covered with those kind of plants.
Oh yeah, that it makes great grouse habitat too.
Yeah,
um, Let me think
some,
about that. From
some
what year was she
beautiful.
born in, Tina? My mom would be. She was born in 33, so she would be 90 right now. Yeah, elderberries. Most of these berries are good for you. They've got antioxidants in them and things like that. They're good for you. And then I brought up one of my favorites is, which I never seem to be able to find, is pawpaws.
So we had pawpaw trees everywhere in the woods, and I ran the woods, as you know, more than most humans. I was in the woods like all the time if I wasn't at school. And physically found the fruit pawpaws once in my entire life. And
I used to find them all.
they were wonderful, and I enjoyed the heck out of them when I found them. They tasted kind of like a banana to me,
Yeah.
but and we had lots of pawpaw trees, just no, they didn't fruit, or maybe the critters got them so fast they just weren't there. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. The critters eat them up quick. I used to find them all the time on the shoreline around the lakes when I was out working in the field.
Really?
Yeah, all the time in little draws that were damp, and probably got a little extra fog in them of a morning, and they were moist but not soggy wet. And I'd find them; they would just be thick with these little pawpaw trees that were my height up to say 12 to
Yeah, up to
15
about
feet.
12 feet tall.
And they would have not a lot on them, but they would have pawpaws on them. But anytime I tried to come back to find them ripe, they'd always be gone. And
I never even found, like I said, we had pawpaws growing everywhere. And you'd think that you'd see a fruit. I just never saw the fruit. even green, you know. And it's like, well, how are you even grown? How do you still persist here as a species?
They're out there more than you think. Well,
Yeah,
and the
I think
animal
the
and the
whitetail.
animal
I think
spread
the
the seed.
whitetails and the squirrels ate them faster than they.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And raccoons. I mean, if they fall on the ground, they're prey to everything. I mean, everybody. All got all. As my buddy Clarence used to say, all God's critters seem to like pawpaws.
So John, you said this is the first time you've ever heard of them. So if you look at that little map that Tim's got there, if you look at the very northern part of West Virginia, that's up by Morgantown, and my people settled that part of the world in the 1750s, and they lived on Little Pawpaw Creek, which is cool, I think. I've never been to this actual homestead over there where they settled. I'd like to go someday, but
Hang on a minute, I might have something maybe interesting, maybe not. I did a.
yeah, Carol, there's Pawpaw, Michigan.
They say they make ice cream now out of some places. That's one way to, because it's hard to. It's really hard to or to take care of it. I mean, they don't ship well. UT, University of Tennessee, for a while was in a program where they were trying to maybe be able to breed or create a species of pawpaw that was a little tougher, and so
Well, they
they
got
could.
great big seeds in them.
Yeah, they do. They bruise real easy, and they ripe. Once they get ripe, they don't last hardly any time.
Yeah, they always reminded me of a persimmon. You know, you like a wild persimmon. They're not fit to eat till they're falling on the ground and they look like they're almost rotten. That's when you can eat them, and they're good, and they make great jelly and jam. But when they're a nice solid looking fruit, you can't. They turn your mouth wrong side out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He
Like
wasn't kidding.
eating wild crab apples, they'll turn your mouth wrong side out
He
too.
ain't kidding about that. He said something about mouthful of alum salts or whatever earlier. That's true. They will put it on you.
Oh, they do mention pawpaws in the Jungle Book, but in the movie,
The song, pawpaw.
because that boy's from the South that sang that song.
Yeah. Well, I've got. There are a couple of. I did some some like podcast vlogs for a friend of mine that does tourism stuff on the Tennessee River Valley, and it's out there. And I did one on pawpaws with her, but I don't know if that one's on the web. Did you ever find those, Mark?
Uh-uh.
Because
I never did find them.
one of them is about the tree farm stuff that I was involved in at UT and Norris and TVA. And one of them, I did one about pawpaws, and I don't know if they put that one on the web yet or not. And they're out there somewhere. I've got to find her email again and see where she put those. I need to post that link so people could know I'm not published, but I'm.
So are they
Are they?
this range map that they've got here?
Uh
I'm
huh.
wondering it's got to be way narrower than that. I mean, they're just showing like if they exist in a state,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
like Nebraska, for instance,
I'm sure they're not everywhere in the
I'm
state.
sure they're only in the very extreme southeast corner.
Maybe, but I read some stuff on that recently when I was doing this paper or doing this article for the TVA thing, and they're actually out there more than I realized in like Missouri, and I don't know about Arkansas, but
Well,
uh,
Arkansas had lots of them in the Ozarks and in the Ouachitas. But again, I never found the fruit.
hmm.
You must have to camp on them.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you must have to, like, if you find
Oh,
pawpaws
yeah, yeah.
that actually have fruit on them, you probably have to just
Well,
stay
just
with them
about.
till they ripen.
I swear
Because
to you,
otherwise, critters get them.
yeah, I swear I've gone out there and found some, and then a week or two later gone back and I couldn't find any. So yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that's very
And
possible.
maybe the time period between green looking and ripe is pretty short.
I'm trying. Bear with me just a minute. I'm trying to find this podcast. Well, the podcasts are on. They're available on Spotify. I don't know if they're on anywhere else. Let me see what they're calling it. Explore more, getting real local in the Tennessee River Valley. And there's one about Norris Dam, and I think I did that one, and I did one about.
Well,
No, I did. I did.
you'd sent me a link to the one about the tree farm or
Yeah,
tree.
I did that one, and I did one about Douglas Dam and how that played into the. Um, let me pull that up. These were done in a professional studio, buddy.
And you did one on pawpaws.
And I did, but I don't know if that one's out there yet. She may not have. That one may not be published yet, or they may not, and they may not do it. I don't know. But I've got to look and see. I'm still looking through them. Anyway, there's one. That's the one I did about Douglas Dam. If that link, somebody check that link and see if it works. And Douglas, was. I know this is changing the subject, but I tell you what, I'll come back to that. I don't have that many slides left. So let's go through them real quick if we can. And then I got into wild nuts, and these are chestnuts. These are probably Chinese chestnuts. It would be great to think that those are all American chestnuts reborn, but so far there are American chestnuts out there. Some have produced non-viable nuts. I don't think they're very big. Someday maybe we'll have American chestnuts back again, but I don't know if it'll be in our lifetime. They're trying.
Well, on my property, there's, I don't know, probably 10 or 20 trees growing right now. And they're about 6 inches in diameter and 25 feet tall.
Yeah,
But that's about where they get when the
that's
blight gets them.
that's about all they get here, and then they die. And
Yeah.
occasionally one will get big enough to bear fruit 1 year or two, but they're never fertile.
Are there
And
still chinkapins in the mountains?
yeah, as far as I know, there's still some in the mountains. They're getting more and more scarce. Otherwise, we used to have one right there on the campus at UT, and I used to go out there at the right time of year and pick them up off the ground and eat them.
Well, we had chinkapins up in Unaka that we got nuts off every year. But it was just that little stringer where, up there where the huckleberries grew and the black rattlesnakes lived, that little strip of
Yeah, that's
limestone
tree.
clear up in the balds. There,
Right.
there was chinkapins that grew on the east side of the face of the mountain there. Are those walnuts? Yeah.
Yes, those are black walnuts. And that's walnuts in the hull up at the top. And that's another thing that makes some amazing dye. And if you don't think so, just grab a few of those like that and break the hulls off, get the center part out, and then look at
Rub,
your hands.
rub it around, rub that green hull around on your hands, see how black they turn.
Oh man, I've done that too. That's not good. That stuff just don't come off. Ron,
We
I
were
got to
we
know
were
about.
dyeing hunting shirts with that stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful brown color, and then let the natives used it to dye buckskin,
yeah,
and of course we always dyed traps in it.
yeah. Carol says those walnuts stain your hands for a long time.
Long time.
I got to
No,
know what the problem is with the empanadas.
What,
Rhonda, did I miss that answer or question?
what's an
She said,
empanada?
well, she said, I went to a restaurant that had empanadas last week, and my friend was thinking about getting them. And in her head, all she could think was, oh no, ooh. And she said, now I remember what triggered that. But I like empanadas. I'm not sure, at least all the ones I've had so far.
Well, what are they?
They're just folded over, usually a meat or a fruit pie, and I guess they're, I don't know if they're South American or Mexican or Cuban. I've seen them at Cuban restaurants here, and I've seen them at other places in different spots. I guess they're a Mexican dish, or they could be American, and I just think they're all them things. But they're kind of like fry bread. They're almost like an Indian fry bread or something, or a
With
homemade fried pie. My mom used to make them too.
like a fried pie with some kind of filling in it.
Yeah, and they can be meat pies or they can be fruit pies.
Got it.
Oh, Michelle had it made a. Oh, well, that's a different story there, Rhonda. No offense, Michelle. We heard bad stories about those tuna empanadas. That's a whole nother thing. I forgot about that.
It's like a meat pie. It's a ham pie.
Mark and Michelle once made a giant tuna empanada on her Fun Food Friday. It was fun, but probably couldn't be classified as food. Carol.
Many tortillas with food fried up inside.
Yeah, that's kind of what they are. But like a hand pie. Yeah, Michelle, like a hand pie. They're probably the same thing, different name in different parts of the world.
So if you
Actually, empanadas might be South American now that I think
so
about it.
if you get like a fried apple pie, would that be considered an empanada, or does it have to be meat?
No, it can be fruit. I've had fruit empanadas. I don't, like I said, I don't, when I think about it, the dough might be a little different or the pie itself might be different than what I grew up eating, but they're the same concept as fry bread I mean, I've had some really delicious fry bread, and I'm sure there's fry bread out there that ain't much good. I don't know. I never tried a tuna fry bread.
Well, that bottom photo right there reminds me of wild hickory nuts.
Well, that's because there's wild hickory nuts down here at the bottom.
That's what I just said.
And and these are hazelnuts here on the right, and
And if you're
hickory nuts, but I'm not sure that's a hickory nut, but it might be.
that's a pecan,
It looks like a pecan to me too. It's just
which is a hickory species,
right. Same species.
or well, same genus.
Okay, same genus. Right.
But if your buddy who shall go unnamed, Dusty Meldick, picks one of them little hard little hickory nuts up off the ground, and he's got his Red Ryder BB gun, and he goes, "Hey, watch this! Hide your eyes and your face."
Oh, really?
He shot a hickory nut off the end of his Red Ryder BB gun that flew way up high in the air, and I'm like, "Well, that was cool. Do that again." We were 5 or 6 years old, and he did it again, and I had just started wearing glasses, and the BB hit the.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
I love that movie because of this story. That BB hit that hickory nut hole, which is hickory wood.
Mm-hmm. Hard.
And ricocheted and hit me right in the eyebrow. And so we had to cook up a story to tell our mothers that I had fallen off a little rock face on the creek right there because we didn't want them to take our BB guns away.
Didn't you have other instances where BB guns and your mom and a story were involved? Seems like I've heard a couple of those.
We had too many BB gun stories. Some of which involved my father and my uncle, who would have killed us if they saw us shooting at each other with BB guns.
But they do it on a
But
regular
they felt
basis.
perfectly safe shooting us
somehow. And this is what, in case you don't know, this is what chestnut burrs look like. And yes, they will poke you right in the skin, right through your skin. I had two Chinese chestnuts in my yard growing up, and every fall we'd be kicking those things around trying to mow and not step on them. But I personally really like chestnuts, even Chinese chestnuts. I would like to have tasted American chestnuts to see if they were the same thing, but I don't know if they were different or not. And then
So
and
we
on the
had my grandpa had a living tree still on the property when I was a little boy that produced fruit,
yeah.
and they taste identical to Chinese chestnuts, and they're wonderful.
Oh, they did produce
Yeah,
chestnuts.
but
Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
and it lived till I was about 12 years old, I think, and then it was gone.
Well, I can remember, and I'm sure you can too, but I can remember walking through the mountains, and you probably saw them in Ohio, but anywhere out in the woods that hadn't been cut over or cleared or something, you could walk through the mountains and see these giant chestnut logs laying on the ground where they had
Yeah,
fallen,
yeah,
and they just let them lay. And it was kind of like, always after I got older and educated and learned about such things, they always reminded me of what they called I think the mother trees out in the Northwest Pacific area. When a big tree like a redwood or something falls and it lays there, and as it decays, it fertilizes everything beneath it for
right.
years and years and years, and feeds what's coming up next. And but these big chestnuts were just, and I went to a place in North Carolina where they were just thick, and where they didn't get cut before they all died off. They were just gone. But they were giants, and I've seen pictures of chestnuts that were cut in this part of the world that were big enough for like a 3 or 4 man rip saw, or what do I
Yeah,
think? What a
cross cut.
crosscut saw, a crosscut that they could all stand on the stump side by side. I mean, to me, I've seen pictures that remind me of redwood trees almost out west. They were
Yeah,
that big, much
yeah,
bigger than what you see here now.
and they were
And
the most common
most
hardwood
common,
in the
yeah,
entire eastern North America. They were the most abundant tree.
they were the main cover for most of this country, the timber or the.
Can you imagine walking through the woods on all those burrs? It just,
No, I'd like to, but no.
but it, so that dad had that old store building on the property there that we tore down out,
Yeah,
after a while it was falling in. And the inside boards that were just like junk boards that you hid with siding and whatnot, they were an inch thick chestnut boards, and they were probably an inch and a quarter thick chestnut boards, and they were 12, 14 inches wide. And we took every one of those out and planed them, and dad finished mom's kitchen with it. So the whole kitchen's like got chestnut wood all over it. And pretty cool stuff.
why are you calling me Timothy? First off, well, I don't know. We talked about going somewhere, but I don't remember where. And back to
And now you can't remember why.
Rhonda's question or comment. Yes, they will. They can pierce a shoe, especially an old tenor shoe, the old style, tenor shoes.
They remind me of an eastern version of teddy bear cholla jumping cactus.
Yeah, kind of like that. But anyway, and the one on the right there, in case you've never had the privilege, those are pinon nuts or pinones. And I've had the pleasure of eating these fresh, and I've had them roasted by Homie himself in a little skillet in a shed in New Mexico, or in a cabin, so to speak. Forest
Homie
Service.
Cole.
Uh,
Homie Cole.
Homie Cole, yeah. And these things are good, and I never thought about it, but when you buy these in the store or whatever, they're expensive too. Not as bad as morel mushrooms, but pretty expensive. And that was the last thing
And
I had.
there were whole tribes of native people that made their entire living off of
Pinions.
pinones.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, not one little bit. Man, they're good.
Even people that were considered mostly hunter type folks, Apaches, etc., ate a lot of pinones.
Well, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but all trees don't have them every year, do they? Oh,
No,
yeah, that's what I thought. And then, so when they're on, and they're out there gathering and picking them up and whatnot. It's what I remember Homie talking about that.
well, and those trees, just like pine trees everywhere in the West, got hit by bark beetles really bad, and
Mm.
there are giant areas of that used to be pinyon trees that it's not PJ anymore. It's just J. There's only juniper. There's no the pinyons are gone.
Will they come back? I mean,
Well,
they.
hopefully. There,
It's
I
not
mean,
like a lot.
there's large areas that were unaffected too, but yeah,
Yeah.
they really took it in the shorts in some parts,
I
and
tell you what, when the pine beetles moved up into this country in the early aughts, in the late '90s, we were at the end of like a 3 year drought, and
yeah,
which had the trees all weakened and in
right.
trouble anyway. And we got pine beetle infestation broke out, and they cleared hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of acres of pines
We
in
have whole
Tennessee.
mountain ranges that every pine tree on the mountain range is gone,
They just go from tree to tree to tree,
and they're
and
just standing there dead.
yeah.
They can't. They really don't have enough fuel to even burn them to get them cleared out of there. And of
Well, they
course,
don't.
nobody wants it commercially.
Well, it's not much good unless you get it immediately. It rots so fast that
Yeah,
they infect the tree with a fungus, and it
but
turns the wood blue inside. Or
well, you remember our basement in Tennessee. Dad and I had paneled that basement with that blue streak pine wood, and
oh, is that what? Oh, okay.
it came off of Unaka Mountain, and that's what it was. Bark
Beetle
beetles had
kill.
killed
Yeah.
that.
Well, Brenda, don't come crying to us when your reputation is ruined. I got to back up on that. Yes, Carol, I am. He's a bad influence too. Wait a minute, your neighbor's
Oh,
Home
you're
Depot.
supposed to go to the Home Depot, Lowe's, Sonic, and Kroger,
Oh,
and Hardee's for steak biscuit.
I've already done that today.
Today?
I
Oh,
would prove it, but I've probably
oh,
thrown the evidence
oh,
away.
you devil.
Well, let me tell you the truth. Brenda didn't want to get. We didn't want to get up and fix anything, and I was trying to work on the slides here. And so I went to the McDonald's to grab a egg McMuffin or something, and they had a water pipe burst, and they were shut down. So I had to go somewhere else. And Brenda said, "What about a steak biscuit?" What was I supposed to do? She said steak biscuit.
I don't know why you would choose McDonald's over that any day.
Well, it's a lot. It's further away. It takes me
Oh,
longer to get
I
there,
got you.
but I did it anyway. And I thought about you if that helps.
Yeah.
I always think about you. I started to wait
Yeah,
and
yeah. I bet Mark would like to be eating this right now.
and nanny boo boo.
What's bacon, egg, and cheese? Now, if you go to Hardee's, you got to get a steak biscuit.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about anything else.
What do they call that officially? Is it a chicken fried steak
They
biscuit?
just call it. No, I think they do call it a country steak or biscuit or something like that.
Yeah.
They might. I don't know if they put the word fried in there. I think down here that's just a given. If it's on a biscuit of a morning, it's probably fried.
Well, I know you can't get them anywhere in the rest of the civilized world, so which is just wrong. But
Carol, I got to ask you a question. When you say chives, are you just talking about wild onions? Because we got that down here too. I mean, I thought that chive. I always thought chives were just a little bitty young onion anyway, but maybe not, or the green part anyway, the shaft. I can be corrected. I learn if you got the answer.
Well, that's what I use is just the tops out of green onion, like young green onions.
Yeah.
I just mince them up fine and put them in eggs and things like that. And
Okay.
but
They're
they
different.
can, man, we're growing some onions right now that are, wow, are they strong? They're just like overpowering, you know.
I'll tell you what, the only onions I've ever eaten that I really, really liked, and some I do like, but on certain foods or whatever. But the one that I had one day at this little country store that was up on around Norris in my lake area, and they would make they when I first went there for like $1.60, you could get a roast beef sandwich about that thick, and with it, it's always on white bread though. That's all they had in the store was white bread. That was one thing you couldn't. I mean, they just didn't have any other kind of bread in that store, and they'd slice that stuff up for you while you stood there and waited on it, and then you could get a big old slice of tomato and lettuce and a big old slice of onion if you wanted it. And one day I went in there and just got the works, and I had that was absolutely the sweetest and best tasting onion I have ever had in my life. I
So what,
almost turned around, went back, and said, "Send me a bag of those onions." They were some kind of Vidalia, I think, but man, were they good! Or it was
it
good.
wasn't a red, like a red onion or
No,
something.
no, it was just a white onion, but man, was it sweet!
So I don't know the folks around. I don't know if like Tina would have. I mean, we had a wild onion that's a flat bladed onion that grew in the woods called a ramp.
Yeah,
Um, and what else do they call them? We called them ramps.
they didn't call it Indian nettles, did they?
No, it's oh heck, they got another name for them, but they're a wild onion that grows in
Right.
central Appalachia, and but I don't know if they might have them up in New York State in the woods, but talk about a strong onion. you cut
Oh
them
my
up,
God, yes, they're
you
strong.
cut them up and use them. You got to be very like judicious in your use because they are powerful.
Oh, and they have ramp festivals down here, and they collect them and gather them up, and I guess they grow them now domestically
Well,
too.
I know they go for like they're kind of like morels. They
Expensive.
sell them in New York State, in New York City at restaurants and things for, a couple $100 a pound or something.
Jeez.
And David is actually growing them. He had them wild all over his property, his couple hundred acres, and He's intentionally growing them in places and harvesting them and selling them, and they make a pretty good chunk of change off of them.
Who's doing that? David.
David Stanley.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Tina says they have ramps or wraps. We call them. Some people here used to call them. We growing up, I heard them called ramps a lot because of the accent. Ramps. You seen any ramps this year? And there used to be two old guys on a local radio station, AM station, that used to talk about going to the Rank Festival up on up on Rome Mountain.
The Rank Festival.
You gonna wake up in time to see the show today?
Well, it wasn't Big Red or Thor Heine, was it, from the Heine Winery? You remember those boys that
Yeah, I'm
were
trying to think. I don't know. I don't know if it was them or not. These guys might have
where
been
were they?
too old.
Were they from Telford? They were from somewhere up there.
Yeah, they were there after I left, actually, so I don't know a lot about them.
Had a radio show, and their names were Big, Red, and Thor Heine.
Honey, honey. Little mountain humor there, folks. Sorry.
and talk about some hayseeds.
Yes, Tina, send me that. I didn't know I don't know the difference in them. I don't see ours flower a lot, although sometimes they do. They usually get cut. Wild onions usually get cut around here before they get up to anything. And ramps are different because they've got, like he said, they're a flat blade instead of that round curled. I don't know what you call it, shaft of most onions we eat.
Yeah, they got a big, wide, like 3/4 inch wide blade
Yeah,
leaf instead of that round leaf that green onions or well, all alliums.
yeah.
Um,
And Brenda said, "Yeah, you're right, Brenda. They do.
yeah, like they protect them like it's like a ginseng
Looks like
patch
a
or
ginseng patch. Yeah,
mushroom patch. It's like you don't tell nobody.
no. People might see you going in and out of there, but you don't tell them why." Oh, my dog running loose. I think he's up his holler here.
Yeah, I'm looking
He
for a
gets loose
still.
every year. He gets loose every year about this time.
I'm just looking for a still.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there could be that too.
Uh huh.
Oh, mercy. Stills in that country at one time were not that uncommon.
Well, I can remember hunting on Buffalo Mountain with the dogs. I don't remember who I was even with, and like we couldn't find a bird dog, and we were looking and looking and looking, and we found the still. It was bubbling away, and there wasn't nobody around, and it's like we need to get
Oh,
out.
don't bet on that.
We need to get out of here right now.
Just back out and keep going.
It's like looking at a grizzly bear. Just avert your eyes and walk away.
Yeah, don't poke it. It's a little bit like walking into somebody's weed patch when they're really gardening. That's when, I don't know, that's when people got ugly. Maybe it's like what's his name says in that song about, what is that song? Not Rattlesnake Road.
Oh,
Copperhead Road.
Copperhead Road.
He says he came back from Vietnam with a whole new plan, and that's when they started getting ugly and putting punji sticks and tripwires around weed patches.
Fish hooks hanging in the woods.
Fish hooks hanging in the woods.
Level.
Yeah.
We had a boy, a Vietnam, kind of a smoked out Vietnam vet that lived on the forest down there in the Washitas that was coming in and stealing our beer out of our camp all the time when we were down there working, doing fish surveys. Yeah, his name was Teddy Ray.
Yeah.
We caught him at camp one day. He was stealing stuff out of camp. And it's like, dude, you can come here every night and eat at our fire. We'll cook you supper. We'll give you beer. You don't have to steal from us. I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to go out there in that clear cut over there and I'm going to kick all those cages down and let the whitetails eat your pot plants.
Because we know where they are.
Because we see them every day walking through there. And I'm like, I'm going to turn a deer loose on your pot plants. And he's like, oh, okay. It's like, come and eat with us. You don't have to steal from us.
And he started doing that, didn't he?
He did that for like 2 months every day. But he had come home broken.
Yeah, he was one of those folks that didn't make it. He made it, but he didn't.
He made it, but he left a bunch of it. He didn't all come home, so.
Yeah. Was he a NAM vet?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'd come back to camp in the afternoon or in the evening, after work and be driving in. There was a big bridge right just by our camp, and he'd be on that bridge dancing, shadow dancing, he called it. to a tune that was in his head.
Nobody else could hear.
Nobody else could hear.
Reminds me of a guy I met.
He was a dandy.
I don't know whether he was a vet. He could have been. He sounds kind of like your Teddy Ray, but or he might have just been a hippie that had a few too many hits of acid or something in his life, which is what I kind of remember about him. But he was one of them guys that heard stuff. He was hearing stuff that nobody else heard. And, like walking down the street and turning around because he knows the wolves are back there. he was a funny dude, too. He was a character. And me and a couple of my buddies invited him in one night, just out of the blue. We didn't know him from Adam. He's just a stranger in town, long-haired type. It was wandering the streets with no place to go, and it was cold, and it was January, and we invited him up to Kevin's house and took him up to Kevin's room, and we all sat there and drank a bottle of wine and talked about things like, concerts and hearing wolves in the night. I never forgot that guy. I don't know what his name was now, but I did forget that.
My cousins had up there at that little old country store up the road from their house, there was a dude kind of like that hung out that store, and his name was Horton. And you'd just find him out in the woods and weird places. He'd just be out wandering, and he was looking for polar bears and things like that. And,
where was this?
Up there in Ohio.
Oh, in Ohio, okay.
Right up the road from Brad and Tommy's place there.
Looking for polar bears, was
he? And we always said he was out there listening for who's, because his name was Horton.
Well, do you ever find one that you know about?
I don't know. He was a piece of work, Horton was. Harmless, but he was definitely a who listener.
No, I think. Well, I'm not going to get into that, Brendan, Michelle. We had no seasonings other than probably salt and pepper, and maybe black and onions, that kind of seasoning. But no, Appalachian people didn't eat a lot of seasoning. Not like not hot. I can't say not hot, because my uncles used to make some really good homemade sausage that was hot, not kill you hot, but hot. So they use red peppers, but that's about it.
We didn't have all these fancy cumin and oregano and all that stuff. It was salt and pepper, and peppers you grew in your garden.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Hey, what is it? What's a dish that you don't like to eat that's Oriental?
That I don't like to eat?
Yeah, that doesn't set well. I don't know if you like it, but it doesn't usually don't set well with you. And there's a name for it. It's like Thai food and oh shit, what they call that? I've been trying to remember this since yesterday to tell Brenda.
I don't remember.
We were discussing you cooking and making foods. Well,
nut mom sauce?
No, not that. We were talking about that yesterday. Oh crap! Come on, somebody help me. What's
kimchi?
No, not duck feet. It was there's like, I want to call soups and things have it in it. It's a blend of spices. India, there's a lot in India, and it's usually hot.
Oh,
Curries. That's what I couldn't remember last night.
Not curry.
Curry, yeah, not curry. No, just curry.
Yeah, that was the stuff that my Malaysian roommate made. It was wonderful. I mean, it tastes wonderful, but it was the stuff he made. It was yellow. I remember he had a like a potato stew that he made all the time. and it tasted like heaven, but boy, it'd tear me up. It just,
Was it hot?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was hot,
I've had a potato curry.
but it was really good. I mean, the
Yeah.
flavor was just exceptional, but it was very spicy.
What you say that, Brenda, like you knew it the whole time and you didn't tell me. I was sitting up there last night racking my brain trying to remember it. I was telling her
Sure.
about you doing so much cooking these days, and I said you even ate more Oriental type foods than I remember because I knew you didn't like. And then I froze. I couldn't remember curry. Well,
Yeah,
I told her. I
I
think I
like it
told her
fine.
that.
It don't like me.
Yeah, I think I told her that. I said, "Well, I don't. He probably likes it, but it don't sit well with him."
Yeah, and I mean, I've eaten a lot of.
Rhonda says she doesn't really care for yellow and green curries. She's more of a potato curry. Oh, she just made. Oh, Michelle just made a potato curry. Kids
But
didn't
the
like it.
kids didn't like it.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Rhonda said some yellows are okay, but mostly reds for her. I've had red curry. I've had yellow. I
I
like.
don't remember having red. He all his curries were yellow. But
Well,
he's the one that we were riding down the road one day, and there was a great big black rat snake crawling across the road, and I jumped out and grabbed it. And he jumped out of the truck, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I just got this snake."
what does it look like I'm doing?
He said, "Put that thing down. Those are deadly," because all the black snakes where he come from were cobras.
Oh, yes.
Because he was from Malaysia. So I'm like, this one won't hurt you at all.
No, it's not poisonous.
And they almost never ever bite.
Yeah, rat snakes don't do much unless you really hurt them. Yeah, Brenda doesn't like Chinese five spice. I brought some home one time thinking that'd be great to have around the house, and we never ate it because she doesn't like it for beans.
And then it's thyme.
She doesn't like thyme. She doesn't
I
like
don't
thyme
know,
on
I don't
anything.
know that I'd know thyme.
Well, there's some potato dishes that I've had. I believe
My
it's
wife knows all these spices just by smelling them, and I can, the ones that I use most frequently, I can identify those, but that's about it.
well, isn't the yellow in most curries and things and that saffron or that's but I
I
know
think
there's
I think so.
yeah
It's part of it
or
anyway.
yeah or part of it. They use a lot of there's some curries that have a lot of different kind of peppercorns in them too, and some of those could be yellow when
And
they're
they
crushed up.
yellow curries are real popular in India and that part of the world, and then
Stand up.
Down into Malaysia. And
You want to stand up and say hi just for a minute? Huh? You want to stand
Brenda
up?
said she's got some red lentils she needs to fix. I want to jump back to what you mentioned earlier, though, Brenda, and you said green onions, pinto beans, and cornbread.
Cornbread.
I could eat that. So my mama made me a big pot of beans when I was back there, uh, with a ham hock in it, and I love beans, but they've switched. Pinto beans weren't good enough. They've gone to the heck did they call them? They were a different kind of brown bean, cranberry beans, I think.
No, I've had cranberry beans. I don't. That's not a pinto bean, no.
And I'm like, no, that's not what you told me you were going to make me. You said you were going to make pinto beans, which I love. And Dad was like, oh, yeah, they're way better than pinto. And I'm like, you're full of crap. They're not.
No, they're not.
I was not impressed.
We've had cranberry beans and some stuff, or mixed in with some stuff, but I no, they're to me they're a whole different. They're closer akin to a kidney bean to me than they are a
Yeah, that's what they
pinto.
reminded me of. And I really like pinto beans and good old fashioned navy beans.
Oh yeah, turmeric.
I haven't
Yeah,
had any of those in years.
Tina said rat snakes are great in barns, and yes, they are. My granddads both had rat snakes in their barn.
There were two in Dad's barn when I was there. A big, must have been a breeding pair. They were both together, and one of them was enormous.
Yeah, that's cool because I don't see very many big ones anymore. Really big ones.
This one was like 6.5, maybe even 7. It was a huge rat snake.
One of the ones you just saw.
Yeah.
That's getting back up there then, because the biggest ones I've ever seen were probably between 7 and 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet, let's say. And those were big, healthy rat snakes, but you don't see them that big much anymore. I mean, they're
Yeah,
usually
they
3 or
get
4,
long.
maybe 5 foot long, but they're not. You get much above that, and you don't see them like you used
They
to.
don't live as long as they used to because
No,
of
they don't. They're either
cars.
dead on the road or somebody takes a hoe after them. Somebody sticks their hoe on them. Get out there, hoe! Get that snake.
Oh, Brenda, you're just, oh my God. Limas?
She likes llamas, yes.
So all I can remember is like when Dad got out of the Marine Corps, we had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of sea rats that we ate for
He still
camping.
had sea rats?
That we ate for
Well, I
camping
guess he
food.
did, yeah.
And how he ended up with all those cases of C's, I have no idea. But one of the flavors was ham and lima beans. And the boys called them ham and mothers when they were in Vietnam. And that was the most disgusting dog food looking crap that you can imagine in a big old can, big OD green can, ham and mothers. Oh, I can't deal with garbanzos or limas.
Oh, I like garbanzos. I love garbanzos in a salad.
And the my grandmother would make butter beans out of limas. She called them butter beans.
Yeah, yeah.
And they turned yellow, and they were and I could eat those, but I wouldn't have picked them if I had my choice.
I I never liked somebody handed me a bowl of lima beans just for beans. I didn't eat them usually. But I can remember when going to school as a kid, it seemed like we had lima beans every day at the cafeteria, and I
Yeah,
just really didn't want them.
and they'd put like carrots and crap in them too.
Well, that too, yeah, trying to
It's
make
not
kids eat.
right.
And
Not
they
right.
think kids will go for that, but kids know better. Kind of like Ralphie. Grown ups all think kids tell these things to kids thinking they'll believe it, but we kids know better. How about
Kids always know it's better not to get caught.
yeah, right. And we know it's better not to eat our llamas. I buy it occasionally as a treat from a fancy little healthy breakfast cafe. My daily coffee that I make at home is just good old black coffee. I missed what Carol said up there. She must
Turmeric.
turmeric coffee. Oh, that don't sound good to me.
No, maybe that's not.
Carol loves it though. She said.
Maybe I'm full of crap.
Well,
Uh,
maybe I am too, but it don't sound good to me. I've never had it, but yeah, I got hooked on garbanzo beans on salads from eating many years ago when I used to go to Pizza Hut in high school, and we would get a salad bar off because back then you could get a salad bar, an endless salad bar at Pizza Hut for 99 cents, and so we'd go get a pizza, we'd go get a salad and then get a pizza, and we'd share it between us or whatever. And I remember getting garbanzo beans there, and they had a creamy, I think they had a creamy Italian dressing that I just thought was the cat's meow. And it was really good with those garbanzo beans, but that's been a long time ago.
and Brenda's talking about hummus,
Yeah.
chickpeas and hummus. I love hummus. It just reminds me of bean dip.
Well, that's garbanzo beans, you know.
Bean dip is.
Yeah, no, hummus is. Is that going to ruin it for you?
No,
They call it chickpeas.
I don't like the texture of them.
Well, when they're ground up, it don't matter.
Yeah, but like when they're like, you're eating like a bowl of like I've had some like 15 bean soups and
Yeah,
things, and you got beans that are like, they've broken down a little bit and they're soft and bean like, and then you hit like a garbanzo and it's like uh,
firmer.
like a hazelnut stuck down in there. It don't sing.
You're right, Tina. I guess it would be technically bean dip.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to
It's
go to the
not.
market now and get stuff to eat. I'm seeing all kinds of. If you put enough butter, if you put enough butter in the oven as a kid, and I would eat it, and you should eat her limas. Well, that's I don't. Lima beans were just something that was really hard to fool me on.
Look
It's
at
like
them.
eating
Look at
liver.
their. Everybody's going to market now.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
You
Eating
could just go out in the horse pasture and get you a big old bunch of lamb's quarter.
lamb's quarter, yeah, and
Make
maybe
you a
even
stir
some
fry.
sorrel. You might even find some sorrel in your yard.
Oh God, here we go. Beans, beans, beans.
And naturally, that's from my wife.
I remember her when she was mild mannered, little
Me
Brenda.
too. I married that one. I'm not sure where this one came from. Goodness. Last night when that guy farted in the horse suit, you'd have thought she had heard that was the funniest thing she'd ever heard in her life. She was down, almost down on the floor.
Well, it's pretty hard to beat that kind of humor. Just think about Blazing Saddles.
Well, true, true. Blazing Saddles.
I mean, if humans are honest with themselves, that's pretty funny.
No, that's true. That's true. Oh my goodness! But my wife, I never dreamed that she'd be quite so open. I guess I'm not sure if that's the
And
right
that's
word or
okay.
not. Hey, I have a question for you. I don't want to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, I got to go
You ever
check
made?
on some creatures,
Yeah, you need to go.
creatures.
Uh,
Have I ever made what?
have you ever made bread in a skillet? I
I
mean, I'm not
made.
talking about fry bread or anything. I'm not talking about cornbread. I got a recipe. I found a recipe the other day for making like a loaf of bread in a cast iron skillet.
So I make a jalapeno cheese big loaf bread.
Yeah, well, that sounds good to
With
me.
sourdough that's a great big loaf,
Yeah,
and I make it in my Dutch oven. So it's kind of like making it in a skillet, I guess.
you put it in your oven to do it, or out on a fire if you were out.
Either, yeah, I mean, I can put coals on it and cook it traditional Dutch oven way, or I can put my Dutch oven in the oven and bake it that way. And it makes a really nice loaf of bread.
That's gonna be about the same thing.
So you put your dough in there. You make your loaf whatever shape you want it in, and then along the sides of it you put tinfoil, which keeps it in a loaf configuration, if you will. You're just rolling up tinfoil and sticking it along the side,
Yeah.
not on the ends, just on the sides, and that just makes your Dutch oven narrower, like a bread pan kind of a deal.
Oh,
But
okay.
but it's it's a Dutch oven. It's not thin like a bread pan. But
Right.
anyway, cooks wonderful.
So you make a loaf of bread that's not round. It's still kind of square looking, but it's in. It's
Yeah, it's a long loaf of bread like you'd buy at the store, in that shape. I stick it down in the center of the oven of the Dutch oven. Put tinfoil on each, roll up a roll of tinfoil on each side of it. Just keeps it in that loaf shape.
And the bread, the dough itself is in tinfoil also?
Nope. It's
Okay.
just in the oven.
That's what I thought.
The only place that tinfoil is touching it is on the
On the
side.
sides. Okay. I got you.
And I grease up my oven good. And
Chelsea, she thinks she's done that before and cooked in a skillet or a Dutch oven, made bread that way. Tell you what, I used to have a great, simple, easy recipe for a cobbler, fruit cobbler in a Dutch oven that the Scouts used to do, and it was just a couple of really simple things put in it, like some kind of, I won't say a pudding mix, but that's not right. It wasn't pudding.
so a buddy of mine, I'll send you the recipe. A buddy of mine just sent me this book.
Oh yeah,
Camp Cooking 100 Years. It's an old Forest Service manual.
Oh man, okay.
And it's got lots of Dutch oven cobblers and cakes and Dutch oven orange glazed stuffed pork chops. Stuff you just don't normally think of.
Yeah.
Dutch oven chicken marsala.
No, I never would have thought of that.
And these are all, this is an original book they've reprinted. And these things were out and about. Dutch oven beans. It's all, these were all horseback guys that did this book. And I'm looking forward to digging into some of it.
That and Kent Rollins.
Yeah, he's going to be in Casper here, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
The 25th. He'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, he's maybe there today.
Day's the 24th, but I'd say
the guy that sent me this book's going to be in his tent cooking with him.
that would be cool. I meant to look that up too. I'm glad you said that. I wonder what they call that. Is it a chuck wagon cook-off or something?
It must be, because Steve called him or texted him and asked him if he was going to be there. And he said he sure was. And he cooks he and his wife cook for a ranch just west of Casper off and on in the summer. And so hopefully he's made this worth his while coming up. But
that's not it. That's Cheyenne. That's not Casper. I want Casper. There's something in the Wyoming News, but that's not this year. There's a Casper, Wyoming chuck wagon cook-off.
That's what I would think it would be he was at.
Yeah, I see pictures, but I don't see. There's Kent Rollins. Frontier Days does one too, but that's in Cheyenne, and that's not till when? August? When's Cheyenne Days?
That's Frontier the last week of July.
July, yeah, okay. I knew it was getting close to the middle of summer or late summer. I tell you something I'd like to have, and if I was at it and I was Kent Rollins, I'd be traveling all over the country cooking for people too. I would like to think, and that's that big old stove of his. Man, that's a nice stove.
Bertha,
God almighty,
they're making them.
I know they are, and they're not cheap.
No,
but they would be a good thing to have if you were doing a bunch of cooking like that, though, because man, that thing's it's pretty special.
And that sucker unloads that thing by his lonesome. It's like 300 pounds.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Somehow he wrestles that thing out of the back of that wagon. It's like, good God Almighty.
He must have figured out a system.
Yeah.
Michelle's wondering if they have that book at the library. I bet they do, Michelle. You probably got a library big enough. They'd probably have that.
So it was published by Gibbs Smith.
What was the name of it?
It's called Camp Cooking 100 Years. and it's put out by the National Museum of the Forest Service History.
Here it is. Amazon's got it for that thing. You can get it on Kindle for $7.99, but you can buy that spiral bound like Mark got right there in his very hands for $9.99. That looks like something worth having.
It's 192 pages long, and it's got recipes and stories mixed through it.
So this is what they issued to people who went out and camped, like for fire crews and stuff like that, probably.
Packers. I mean, this was like this is what the old horseback guys packed with them for a cookbook.
But was it mainly for people that work for the Forest Service, or
I don't know that that's.
hey, you want to say hi?
Trying to see if I can
Or
find
everybody
something
leaves.
about it.
Wake up. Say hi to Carol. You hadn't said hi to Carol in a couple of weeks, so there ain't nothing up there to look at. He's like a little kid. What else can I do besides look at the camera? I tell you what he can do. He can show me his butt and then go back to bed.
So it's a collection of recipes from old time and newer kind of employees.
Uh-huh.
And it's all designed specifically for backcountry kind of cooking.
Oh, please tell me that Carol got to see Teddy while he was here. The only person I see mention it was Rhonda. Carol didn't leave and I missed her saying bye, did she? Last thing I see, she's laughing. Maybe she has wet or soiled her knickers and had to go change. Yeah, he's a poor, tired boy, Tina. He's worked so hard this morning. And tell you what, if he'd get a blue ribbon for sleeping, now he'd be the king. Not much bothers this boy. He's gotten so used to me now. Loud noises and stuff don't even spook him anymore. He used to be bad about that, but now he just, big thunder clap happens out here and it sounds like lightning hit a tree or something. He might roll over and look out the window a minute, but it don't bother him none.
So anybody got hummingbirds this year?
I have not seen one this year yet. I don't know. We probably missed them.
My folks don't have any either. I guess they had 2 or 3 for a
Really?
day, maybe a day, and then they were gone.
That's not a good sign.
We haven't seen one yet. But my wife just hung the feeder yesterday, but I haven't seen one outside, just randomly. So
what time of year you usually
we
get
got a lot of common snipe though. Good God Almighty, they're super abundant.
Really? That's unusual. Well, kind of.
And they're still singing at night and during the day.
I guess you get them all down there along the river in those bottoms.
Yeah, I mean we have them every year, but man, there's like a bazillion of them this year.
Reckon that's because it's been so wet.
Yeah, I think so.
They've stopped short.
They're like nesting out here in the pastures.
Yeah, they've short stopped this year because the habitat was available.
Everything's messed up. All the birds are messed up. So birds that we normally have a lot of, we just don't. And then
Tina says they've got some.
Oh, good.
We haven't seen the first one, but I'm hoping that we'll see them. If nothing else, we'll see them as they start moving back south. But that'll be a little while yet. Owls and
Rhonda, is that a white? Is that just an albino, or was it a snowy owl? Which, I mean, that's weird if it's in Georgia.
Yeah, that'd be cool though. That one, they've been down this far. There was
yes, it could be a barn owl. They're white. Ish.
Yeah, at least partially, yeah. Probably mostly white, actually. Well, there was a snowy one time, and it's been a few years back down at Nashville. Hung around at the airport out down there. They
And
tend to do that because it's good hunting grounds, but I don't think.
we get them here every time the lemming population crashes.
Yeah, yeah, they come down your way to eat.
Yeah, and they're almost always juvenile birds, you know.
I'll have to look. Tino, is that online? If it's online, yeah, get the picture. I know we're running late, guys. Nobody's complained yet, so I guess we'll hang around till Mark has to go. He'll have to go before we do, probably. Although there's some racing happening here today I want to watch. It would be cool. I'd love to see a snowy. I never have seen one. We get some interesting owls coming through here, especially up around that glade area they talk about, or bog area that's in upper East Tennessee. There's some meadows and stuff in and around that
Oh
area.
yeah.
And there's a place up there where every year there's like either long ears or short ears that come in and hang around, and some other stuff. There, she's got the picture of it. Let's see if we can.
So is that open prairie kind of looking country, Tim, or is it closed up? Where you were talking about with the owls?
It was fields, and some of it was opened up, and they'd be usually along the edges of that.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's like short-eared owls are open country birds, we see them here every year, and long-eareds, but they use they use shrubs and trees.
Did you open up Rhonda's picture?
I can't yet. I don't have a link. Well,
she put a link in her.
I'll have to copy it. Well, why won't you let me copy?
Well, if you don't, I'll project it on the screen.
Project it if you can.
Yeah, I can present it. Watch this. Look there, I got that done just quick as you.
Well, that's a barred owl.
Yeah, it is. That's why I didn't say what it was yet. I wanted you to see it. Who cooked for you all?
That's a beautiful barred owl. Wow. One of my favorites, in big dark eyes.
Saw one behind my deck about a year ago. I live on Claremont. Great shot. Great picture. Some guy asked what kind it is, but nobody's answered him. Somebody said they got plenty of squirrels for him to eat, though. I guess squirrels are fair game for a barred owl. I never thought about that much.
Yeah, they eat them.
Probably about any rodent.
They eat smaller rodents for the most part, but they'll eat a squirrel if they can grab it.
No, that's not an albino, but that's definitely very light color.
It's light colored, but that's a barred owl.
Yeah,
beautiful bird.
It is pretty good size too. Looks like. I don't know if I can't. Well, not seeing it well enough to really.
Between that and the screech owls, those are my favorite owls.
Yeah, I love screech owls. I used to pull them out of my nest boxes all the time, duck boxes.
I love them.
And I pulled out two one time in the same box. And one was a red rufous color and one was a gray color.
Oh, cool.
In the same box.
That's cool.
And then I opened up one box. It was late in the year and I was just kind of checking them. And I pulled open a duck box. And there was 3 little fluff balls in that thing, just all huddled up there. And they were.
I always wanted one as a falconry project.
I never thought about that. I guess you could though, couldn't you? That would be kind of neat.
No, I mean if you're a licensed falconer and you've gone through all the testing and everything, you can have a screech owl.
I wonder if you can get them to catch birds.
Owls are, well, they're mostly rodents, but owls are, I guess, harder to, less, I don't know if they're
Willing.
less intelligent or if they're just less quick to succumb to training.
It's possible.
We had a guy in Green River that had a horned owl that he flew all the time, and it was always getting out, and I was always catching it around town. But I'd love to have. I would always wanted to have like a little red faced screech owl.
Well, that'd be cool. I guess I kind of like the reds better too, but they're both
See you,
really
Carol.
cool. Carol leaving too. Yeah, I need to close up, guys.
Yeah, we need to. I got critters to chore, and one of my grandbabies and her daddy is about to get here to go love on the foal.
I got to turn this off. Wait a minute.
It's foal loving time.
All right, brother. Well, you take care of that foal, and everybody. Thanks
She's
for
growing
being
like a weed. She's gonna be perfect.
Well, send me some new pictures of her when you get a chance. I'd like to see her.
Okay.
A little bit more filled out. There's Brenda's unicorn. She's posted there on that page. You don't see it over here where we're looking or you're looking. Have a great week, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of the weekend, and everybody have a good time. And everybody send her, if you got an interesting thing for cooking, send it to Michelle. She can use it on Friday night. I'll send you that bread recipe, Carol, or Michelle, if you want it. So anyway, I'll send that to you on Instagram or something.
Morel mushrooms too.
Morel mushrooms. Good eating, folks. All right, everybody. See you later.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.